skill platform for professionals, SkillFront, www.skillfront.com. Program book, the Lean Six Sigma framework. This audiobook has been generated by using the macOS text-to-speech technology. As SkillFront, we thank Apple for making this technology available for us. Hi everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day today. Thank you very much for getting the Lean Six Sigma framework audiobook. My name is SkillSSWB. We will be producing today the audio version of the renowned SkillFront book, the Lean Six Sigma framework, written by the team of the SkillFront. As we know, audiobooks are wonderful tools in terms of getting knowledge of the world with ease. You can feel free to listen to this audiobook while you are sitting and relaxing on your couch with your cup of coffee or tea, while you are driving, while you are commuting, while you're walking, while you're training, or even while you're working without any interruption in your usual routine. And yet, I want to encourage you to get a hand at the ebook version of the Lean Six Sigma framework as well. I believe the content presented in this audiobook will make more sense, and it will become more helpful to you if you review and digest the figures, images, graphs, and charts, which you can only see in the ebook version of this audiobook. Are you now ready to get started? Yes. If so, then let's get started. Dedication. To all of the SkillFront professionals, thank you for inspiring us, keeping us focused, and making sure we do our best to guide you to execute ideas, grow businesses, and dominate your markets online and offline. We are proud of seeing you while you serve your clients at your highest levels possible and positively influence their lives that wouldn't happen otherwise. Without you, your engagement, and your loyal support, SkillFront could not come where it is today. Welcome to the SkillFront. As to methods, there may be a million and then some, but skills are few. The one who grasps skills can successfully select his or her own methods. The one who tries methods, ignoring skills, is sure to have trouble. Ralph Waldo Emerson, essayist and poet. New Year's Eve 2010. As the rest of the world went about celebrating the dawn of a new year heading into 2011, I lay in my bed, next to my baby, who was born less than 4 short months ago. My husband sat next to me, and I can still remember the sound of fireworks set off in the neighborhood. I could see the colors of fireworks, reflecting off my husband's face. He turned and looked at me, while tears were pouring down my cheeks, and he said, "You didn't sign up for this. We're going to fix it." I lay down and put my hands back behind my head, closing my eyes. I felt every aspect of my being filled with rage. My mind raced back to the winter, nearly 12 months before, to me getting promoted to a leadership position at one of Switzerland's largest local banks. As the manager of the busiest branch in the middle of the city of Zurich, I was leading 30 to 40 employees, contractors, and agency staff. To this day, I can't help but marvel at the thousands of working hours, the millions of Swiss francs, and the enormously complex processes necessary to make a simple financial investment product shown in our portfolio of products. And yet, there I was lying, heading into 2011, with a termination letter in my hand. It turned out that my employer didn't want to occupy their demanding positions with mothers of newborn babies. They couldn't wait any longer and quickly sent me my notification at the end of my 12 weeks of officially deserved maternity leave. At this moment, you may be wondering why I didn't go back to my corporate career, although I could have reasonably quickly find another job, given my qualifications and job experiences. Even if I had this big obstacle of having a few months old baby, let me tell you this. The shock of getting fired helped me admit 3 very important things that I haven't been entirely honest to myself before. 1. Large companies move slowly. Good ideas often died on the vine simply because they had to be approved by too many people. 2. Climbing the corporate ladder is an obstacle to doing great work. I wanted to focus on getting things done and making things better, not constantly positioning myself for promotion. Politics and turf wars are an inescapable part of the daily experience of working for a large company. 3. Frustration leads to burnout. I wanted to enjoy my daily work experience, but instead, I felt like I was running a gauntlet each day. It began to affect my health during my pregnancy, happiness, and relationships with my husband, friends, and family. The longer I thought of these facts, the more I realized I wanted out. I desperately wanted to work on my own terms, as an entrepreneur. The next 10 years took me on a journey, trying to bring up my baby, become a good wife, and transform myself into the practical scientist to unlocking measurable results in every area of my life every day. a scientist I call the SkillFront entrepreneur. My name is LeanSixSigma. I am a married woman. I am a mother. I am a businesswoman. And most important, I am a SkillFront entrepreneur. I train entrepreneurs at all levels, from want-to-be entrepreneurs to owners of large enterprises, to execute ideas, grow businesses, and dominate their markets online and offline. I wasn't trying to become an expert. In fact, I wasn't even sure what being an expert meant. I was, and I am still trying to be a student of my own passion, helping and serving other entrepreneurs succeed in business. I wanted to set myself free after getting laid off. I had no clue that what would start with a decision to change my life would transform into a global movement thanks to the principles, frameworks, and support of SkillFront, the skill platform for entrepreneurs. I started the idea of SkillFront in 2011 with zero knowledge of marketing, sales, persuasion, closing, e-commerce, or automated digital marketing systems. On top of that, I had never delivered a service that was 100% created by me, and I had spent most of my career selling other services. From 2011 to 2014, I struggled to get the message I felt in my heart and soul out to the world. Although we were having some mild success, I was paralyzed trying to figure out not only the psychology of being a female leader with my message, but also the science and technology to sustain and scale my business. I have always been an avid learner, but before I decided to learn everything I could about how I can succeed as an entrepreneur, most of what I read was fiction. If there is one thing I am good at it is taking in a huge amount of information and distilling it into essentials. I am a synthesist by nature, and my travels through the business literature quickly became an exercise in separating the diamonds from the rough. The more I learned, the more helpless I felt. For every great resource I found, I had to process 10 other resources to figure out how to apply that resource in practice to excel on my own entrepreneurship journey. I started to wonder how much of what's out there, and there is a lot out there, I really needed to know. How could I separate practical business and entrepreneurship skills from the dry theory and technobabble? I only had so much time and energy, so I started searching for a filter, something that would direct me to the useful skills and keep me away from the chaff. The more I searched, the more I realized it didn't exist, so I decided to create the SkillFront. As of this moment, 143,487 SkillFront entrepreneurs are actively using the SkillFront platform to quickly get their ideas, products, and services out to the world. I don't share that with you to impress you. To some of you hearing this, that is a big thing, and to others, it's nothing. I share it to demonstrate what is possible when you learn, live, and leverage the practical science and art of being an entrepreneur while combining those skills with lessons you are going to earn in real practice. So take a deep breath. It's time for you to unlock the blueprint of success as an entrepreneur and get to work. Welcome to the SkillFront. LeanSixSigma, SkillFront, co-founder, vice president, entrepreneur experience. Become a bit better than you, every day. Before you can be great, you must be good. Before you can be good, you must be bad. Before you can be bad, you must try. Jim Edwards, copywriter and internet marketer. The key to success, model the best. During one of the seminars I attended more than a decade ago in Nashville, Tennessee, I had one of the most significant aha moments in my personal and entrepreneurial growth journey, which impacted my business more than everything else I learned until today. That was the discovery of thoughtful modeling to build my own skills and career. Children use modeling all the time to learn how to speak, use tools, or tie their shoes. If you look at it carefully, modeling is not only essential to build new skills, but also it's necessary for the continuity of skills, lessons, know-how, and the world's intellectual and cultural legacy from one generation to another. One caveat here, I have seen and met many people who mix modeling with copying someone else's materials, patents, works, ideas as there, and use them for their own goals. Don't do this. That is illegal and unethical. What I mean with thoughtful modeling is, 1. Look for a business that is already successful in your chosen field or a leader who has created the kind of life you want to live. 2. As Tony Robbins rightly put out there, success leaves clues. Find them. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Those who have succeeded before you have done so, followed a plan, and you can do the same thing. Look into their history and their rise to the top. How did they get to where they are today? What kind of obstacles and setbacks did they face, and how did they overcome them? What are their philosophies about their work and their life? 3. Use this information to build the path of your success that mirrors theirs. Your strategy may be similar to the business or leader you're modeling, or you adjust it for your present circumstances. So, I started looking at other businesses, studying how they came to where they're today. After all, their techniques worked for them, they could work for me, but for some reason, my efforts made very little, if any, success and income. I was frustrated because I could see others making money successfully. What was I doing wrong? It took me almost 4 years of studying, researching, and interviewing successful business people before I realized that what I was seeing on the surface wasn't their full arsenal of skills and strategies. The entrepreneurs who were making decent money were doing it through steps and processes invisible to the naked eye, while I had learned and modeled the part of their businesses that I could see. Multiple things were happening behind the scenes that made the magic work. I found that the difference between a $10,000 and $1 million business was all the things happening after a buyer initially contacted those businesses. It took me years to discover and master these hidden skills below the surface of the iceberg, but when I did it, the results spoke for themselves. I wanted to launch SkillFront because I know there are entrepreneurs like me who have been trying to be successful, yet are not having much success. This and other SkillFront programs are the culmination of a decade spent analyzing thousands of companies and their success models. I have built a number of successful companies of my own, and I have worked with tens of thousands of students and clients to guide them to build businesses in every industry you can dream of, both online and offline. This and other programs in the SkillFront platform will unlock the practical skills and frameworks that are mastered and continuously used by champion businesses and leaders in their industries. I hope that while you're learning those skills, you will realize your dreams of success are a lot closer than you think. You will soon see that by providing a ton of value, communicating effectively with your audience, and building out your sales processes and flows in a very strategic way, you can get your product, service, and message out to the world. And you can get paid what you're worth while doing it. All skills you're going to learn are evergreen. If you've tried to learn how to build and grow your company in the past, you've probably purchased books and courses that teach systems that worked when they were created but became outdated, often before they even reached a wider audience and found their way to you. SkillFront programs, on the other hand, are playbooks for creating and scaling successful businesses that will exponentially increase your sales and income. SkillFront teaches evergreen skills, frameworks, and strategies that will be just as useful 20 years from now as they are today. It's the mission of the SkillFront to focus on principles and methods that are timelines, even if technologies and tools change. We don't just teach this stuff, we actually do it. There are many people teaching business and entrepreneurship from one or another angle, and the vast majority of them are making money by teaching other people's business strategies. Russell Brunson calls those people shovel sellers because during the gold rush, the people who made the most money were the ones selling the shovels. Today's modern shovel sellers are selling you those strategies without actually using any of the techniques themselves. The difference between SkillFront and most others is that we actually do this for real. That's right. The skills we are going to reveal to you have been learned and then verified by our own real-world practices, or we have earned them after thousands of tests, sleepless nights, mistakes, trials, errors, successes, as well as failures. We have tried these skills in countless different industries, from law practices to multinational e-commerce giants, from coaching services to software as a service providers, from physical product retailers online and offline to real estate brokers, from healthcare, fitness, wellness and leisure providers to sport clubs and educational institutions, and everything else you ever imagine in between. We also directly work with hundreds of other businesses, advising them and increasing their profitability in almost every niche and industry you can dream of. I am excited for you to dive in and have some fun with this. So, let's get started. Introduction to the Lean. Would you order a delivery pizza for dinner from a restaurant advertising delivery in 6 hours? How about a restaurant that can bring you a cold, stale pizza in only 5 minutes? To meet the consumer's needs, the pizza shop must be able to give customers the number of pizzas they want when they want it. Preparing pizzas in advance is too wasteful because most consumers are not likely to buy a stale pizza. Meanwhile, if you take too long to deliver the pizza, you will lose customers to a more responsive competitor. The concept of Lean focuses on making what you need to meet customer demand only when you need it. For a pizza delivery shop, that probably means a fresh pizza at the customer's door in around 30 minutes. This philosophy can apply to a range of operations, from simply washing a car to manufacturing a complex aircraft. Similarly, the concept of lean manufacturing refers to eliminating waste in the manufacturing process. The Toyota product system is the model for modern manufacturers that want to control wastes. Lean control, or simply lean, has become an immensely popular business control and improvement methodology in recent years. Lean control is a highly refined example of non-financial controls in action. Lean is a system of non-financial controls used to improve product and service quality and decrease wastes. Research suggests that up to 70% of manufacturing firms are using some form of lean in their business operations. Lean was initially focused on improving manufacturing operations but is now used to improve product development, order processing, and a variety of other non-manufacturing processes, sometimes called lean in the office. What is meant by lean control? Lean's popularity has both resulted from, and been driven by, an explosion in the volume of lean-related educational resources. Amazon offers almost 1,800 books and other materials about lean, and Yahoo hosts over 90 online discussion groups relating to lean. Colleges and universities, industry trade associations, and private consulting firms routinely offer courses, seminars, and conferences to explain what lean is and how to use it. Lean control is a number of things. According to James Womack, it is a process for measuring and reducing inventory and streamlining production. It is a means for changing the way a company measures plant performance. It is a knowledge-based system. It takes years of hard work, preparation and support from upper management. Lean is so named because it purports to use much less of certain resources, space, inventory, workers, etc., than is used by normal mass production systems to produce comparable output. The term came into widespread use with the 1990 publication of the book The Machine That Changed the World, by James P. Womack, Daniel T. Jones, and Daniel Roos Womack, J.P., Jones, D.T., and Roos, D., 1990. This abundance of education resources on the topic of lean is actually a mixed blessing for managers who are just now becoming interested in lean. On the one hand, today's managers don't have to search far to find lean materials or programs. But the wealth of lean resources can also be a source of confusion for two main reasons. First, there is no universal definition of lean and little agreement about what the truly core principles of lean are. For instance, quality programs such as Six Sigma, or even LeanSixSigma, are other titles competing for the lean intellectual space. Therefore, lean experts often approach the subject from differing perspectives and describe lean in different ways. To make matters worse, lean is a topic that produces a significant amount of zealotry. So, many experts strongly argue that their particular brand of lean is the one right way to implement and use lean. In these circumstances, it's no wonder that managers become confused about where and how to begin. Lean applications. Lean will always be associated with Toyota Motor Corporation because most lean tools and techniques were developed by Toyota in Japan beginning in the 1950s. After World War II, Toyota's leaders were determined to make the company a full-range car and truck manufacturing enterprise, but they faced several serious challenges. The Japanese motor vehicle market was small and yet demanded a fairly wide range of vehicle types. This meant that Toyota needed to find a way to earn a profit while manufacturing a variety of vehicles in low volumes. In addition, capital was extremely scarce, which made it impossible for Toyota to make large purchases of the latest production equipment. To succeed, or even survive, Toyota needed a way to build vehicles that would require fewer resources. To achieve this goal, Toyota's leaders, principally Eiji Toyoda and Taiichi Ono, began to create and implement the production techniques and tools that came to be known as lean. To gain the most benefits from lean, managers must be able to determine what specific lean tools and techniques will be effective in their particular business. And to make that determination, they must clearly understand what lean is designed to accomplish, its primary objectives, and what core principles lean is based on. With this understanding, managers can decide which lean tools will work well in their business, which lean tools will need to be modified or adapted to work well, and which tools are simply not appropriate. What, then, are the major objectives and core principles of lean? Despite the arguments and debates that often surround attempts to define and describe lean, it is clear that the ultimate objective of lean is the avoidance of MUDA, or wasteful activity, in all business operations. MUDA comprises 7 deadly wastes: In the Lean world, waste means any activity or condition that consumes resources but creates no value for customers. Therefore, waste includes the production of defective products that must be remade or fixed, the production of more products than the market will buy, excessive work in process inventories, overprocessing, processing steps that aren't really needed or that had no value, unnecessary movement of people or products, and unnecessary waiting by employees. Elimination of waste is the soul of Lean. Muda is a Japanese term for activity that is wasteful and doesn't add value. It is also a key concept in Lean control. Waste reduction is an effective way to increase profitability. Here are the 7 deadly wastes, along with their definitions. 1. Defects prevent the customer from accepting the product produced. The effort to create these defects is wasted. New waste management processes must be added in an effort to reclaim some value for the otherwise scrap product. 2. Overproduction is the production or acquisition of items before they are actually required. It is the most dangerous waste of the company because it hides the production problems. Overproduction must be stored, managed, and protected. 3. Transportation is a cost with no added value. In addition, each time our product is moved it stands the risk of being damaged, lost, and delayed. Transportation does not transform the product in any way that the consumer is willing to pay for. 4. Waiting refers to both the time spent by the workers waiting for resources to arrive, the queue for their products to empty, as well as the capital sunk in goods and services that are not yet delivered to the customer. It is often the case that there are processes to manage this waiting. 5. Inventory in the form of raw materials, work in progress, or finished goods represents a capital outlay that has not yet produced an income either by the producer or for the consumer. Any of these 3 items not being actively processed to add value is waste. 6. Motion refers to the actions performed by the producer, worker, or equipment. Motion has significance to damage, wear, and safety. It also includes the fixed assets and expenses incurred in the production process. 7. Overprocessing is defined as using a more expensive or otherwise valuable resource than is needed for the task or adding features that are designed for but unneeded by the customer. There is a particular problem with this item regarding people. People may need to perform tasks that they are overqualified for to maintain their competency. This training cost can be used to offset the waste associated with overprocessing. The 5 core principles of Lean. Lean methodologies are lean because they enable a business to do more with less. A lean organization uses less human effort, less equipment, less facilities space, less time, and less capital, while always coming closer to meeting customers' exact needs. Therefore, Lean is not just another cost-cutting program of the kind we often see in business organizations. Lean is much more about the conservation of valuable resources than it is about cost-cutting. In their best-selling book, Lean Thinking, James Womack and Daniel Jones identified 5 core principles of Lean. Womack, J.P., and Jones, D.T., 2003. Principle number 1. Define value from the customer's perspective. The first core principle in the Womack-Jones Lean framework is that value must be defined and specified from the customer's perspective. While this seems simple enough, it requires much more than high-sounding, generic statements. To be meaningful, value must be defined in terms of specific products. This means that managers must understand how each specific product meets the needs of specific customers at a specific price and at a specific time. Principle number 2. Describe the value stream for each product or service. The second core principle of Lean is to describe the value stream for each product or service, or, in some cases, for groups or families of similar products. The value stream is the set of activities that the business is performing to bring a finished product to a customer. It includes both direct manufacturing activities and indirect activities such as order processing, purchasing, and materials management. Developing a detailed description or map of each value stream usually reveals huge amounts of wastes. It enables managers to identify which value stream activities add value to the product, which activities add no value but cannot be immediately eliminated for various reasons, and which activities create no value and can be immediately eliminated, or at least reduced substantially. Principle number 3. Create flow in each value stream. The third essential principle of Lean is embodied in the word flow. When a value stream has been completely described as unnecessary, non-value-adding activities have been eliminated, the basic idea of flow is to arrange the remaining activities sequentially, so that products will move smoothly and continuously from one activity to the next. However, flow means more than ease of movement. Flow is the Lean principle that directly challenges the traditional batch and queue model of manufacturing, where people and the equipment are organized and located by function, and products and component parts are manufactured in large batches. Lean organizations strive to improve flow by reducing the size of production batches, and in the process, they increase flexibility and lower costs. Principle number 4. Produce at the pace, pull of actual customer demand. Producing at the pace or pull of actual customer demand is the fourth key principle of Lean. One of the greatest benefits of moving from traditional batch and queue manufacturing to continuous flow production is that lead times fall dramatically. Reduced lead times and increased flexibility mean that Lean organizations can respond to actual customer demand rather than attempt to predict in advance what that level of demand will be. This allows Lean organizations to substantially lower both finished goods and work-in-process inventories. Principle number 5. Strive to continuously improve all business operations. The fifth core principle of Lean is continuous improvement, expressed in Japanese by the word kaizen. Companies that implement Lean adopt the mindset that it is always possible to improve any business activity, and they regularly conduct kaizen events throughout their organizations to improve specific processes or operations. Today, Toyota is recognized as one of the most lean business enterprises in the world. Even more daunting and humbling is the fact that Toyota is still striving to improve. Key takeaway from Lean principles: Lean control, or simply Lean, is the system of non-financial controls used to improve product and service quality and decrease wastes. While popularized through the dramatic successes of Toyota in auto manufacturing, Lean processes are used to improve quality and decrease waste in most service and manufacturing industries around the world. In this section, you saw examples of the 7 deadly wastes, MUDA, and the 5 core principles of Lean, which culminate in continuous improvement, or Kaizen. Eliminating wastes. Lean, sustainability's blue-collar brother. In understanding operational efficiency for many of the world's corporations, 2 systems of thought tend to predominate: the Toyota Production System, TPS, more broadly known as Lean, and Six Sigma. Although Lean and Six Sigma are systems used to create, hone, and, over time, optimize virtually any process or system, it is important to note that a central concern of each is the elimination of wastes. While sustainability may deal with the longer-term ramifications of overuse and wastes, as well as other wide-ranging implications, this expression of sustainability on the plant floor is as elegant and brutally efficient in intent as it is in execution. Waste costs measurable amounts of money, period. There is no nuanced interpretation, no delicate interpretive dance of language to be had here, which is perhaps why the application of these systems is so popular with CFOs and operations management alike. Underscoring some of their shared underpinnings, Lean and Six Sigma share essentially the same definitions of wastes. In consideration of what is a shared prescription of 2 of the dominant efficiency systems in the world, let's consider the sustainable underpinnings of the 8 wastes and the types of aspects related to each waste. Type of sustainability aspects related to 8 wastes. Especially in regard to sustainability's efficiency imperatives, we may find that the Lean Six Sigma waste principles as practiced today are far more advanced and prescriptive than any GRI report or sustainability management system when it comes to the overall consideration of all types of wastes. Where GRI may be far more focused on the defined wastes and setting indicators, Lean Six Sigma takes a more holistic view in opening the facility to see the less obvious, but equally erosive, wastes. Furthermore, and of key interest for our efforts in creating sustainability-driven innovation, is that the last 30 years of heavy worldwide adoption of these management systems present us with ample numbers of cognitive hooks and anchors from which we may build a platform for anything from beginning a sustainability initiative internally to creating a B2B offering. The philosophies of sustainability may already be deeply embedded in the organization already. They call them Lean Six Sigma. As we will cover in coming lessons, our goal then is not to unnecessarily create new ideas, which is difficult, and frankly, expensive, but to build on and extend the thoughts, feelings, and frames that already exist in the minds of customers. Caterpillar's use of Six Sigma in supply chain sustainability. Caterpillar is arguably one of the foremost adherents to this efficiency thinking, applying Six Sigma at very high levels throughout not only its organization, but the organizations within its supply chain. In a sense, This push function does a very proactive effort on the part of Caterpillar to drive efficiency and waste reduction in its suppliers and to allow its suppliers to work together to find ways to become more efficient. A few highlights from a Gillette, Fink, and Bevington piece in Strategic Finance about Caterpillar's use of Six Sigma. In addition to its own use of Six Sigma, the company has taught its suppliers and dealers about the benefits of using the technique to refine the entire sales model. Caterpillar has introduced 850 suppliers worldwide to Six Sigma, which has created more than 1,000 supplier black belts to help run the projects. One supplier that said it was interested in the Caterpillar Six Sigma methodology allowed CA to consult and transform the business. When implementing Six Sigma, Caterpillar used facts and data to show the results the supplier could expect, so it didn't take long for the supplier to totally buy into the methodology. Dealers have also taken on the Six Sigma commitment. More than 165 dealerships have produced more than 1,000 black belts to help with projects. Dealers find it amazing that they can share their projects with one another on a Caterpillar website that depicts best practices among the dealers. Even though each dealership is run as a separate business, Six Sigma has helped give all of them a common feel across the world. Not only are dealerships learning about projects that need to be done in their business, but they're following the steps of the process and learning which projects to do first. Just as Caterpillar embraced the methodology, dealers have also accepted the idea of making Six Sigma a top-down methodology that pushes the training and concept down to the workers at the lowest level. While Caterpillar's Six Sigma push started in 2001, a full 4 years before it would issue even its first sustainability report, the links between the two efforts are readily evident. In both the CA approach to Six Sigma efficiency and its sustainability efforts, the drive for waste reduction and efficiency is coming from a very directed and structured approach, one which has its roots in operations. The intermingling between Six Sigma, operations, production, and sustainability at Caterpillar becomes even more evident when examining the critical success factors statement of its sustainability vision, mission, strategy. Critical success factors: culture. Create a culture of sustainability in all our business units and in all our daily work. Progress. We promote our employees' awareness and understanding of sustainability. We continue to foster a corporate culture of transparency, disclosure and engagement. Operations. Champion our sustainability principles and contribute to 2020 aspirational sustainable development goals. Progress. The Caterpillar production system provides the recipe for efficiency and excellence in our facilities. We actively encourage employees to conserve resources and be more efficient. Operating in a more efficient and sustainable manner will reduce impacts on people and the environment, and help us and our customers save money. Business opportunities. Identify and pursue business growth opportunities created by sustainable development. Progress. We are actively embedding sustainability throughout our Caterpillar brand portfolio, our new product development process and our technologies. Our business leaders continue to drive growth in sales of products, services and solutions that help customers meet their sustainability challenges. We utilize Six Sigma methodologies to focus our work and drive measurable benefits. For one of the world's foremost manufacturers, it would appear a significant portion of Six Sigma enables its sustainability goals, and vice versa. In these types of operations, operating from a place of infused, organization-wide sustainability, it can be very difficult, if not impossible, to determine where sustainability ends and operations begins. Continuous improvement. Core competencies of organizations, with a culture of continuous improvement. Our organization measures outcomes, changes in participant condition, behavior or knowledge, not just efforts, quantifiable activities or services delivered. Our organization can identify which indicators are appropriate for measuring how we work. Our organization has clarity about what we want to accomplish in the short term, for example, 1 to 5 years, and what success will look like. Our organization ensures that staff have the information and skills they need to successfully engage with data for program improvement, for example, access to resources and training. Our organization has staff who are experienced in data collection, data use, and different stakeholders' information needs. Our organization has staff who know how to analyze data and interpret what the data mean. Our organization values learning. This is demonstrated by staff actively asking questions, gathering information, and thinking critically about how to improve their work. Leaders in our organization support data use to identify areas of improvement. Our organization is capable of effectively communicating about data and results, both positive and negative, within and outside the organization. Our organization promotes and facilitates internal staff members' learning and reflection in meaningful ways regarding data use, planning, implementation and discussion of findings, learning by doing. Our organization modifies its course of action based on findings from program data. Managers look at program data as an important input to help them improve staff performance and manage for results. Findings from program data are integrated into decision-making when deciding which policy options and strategies to pursue. Cultural indicators. Hallmarks of a culture of continuous improvement are dormant. At this stage, the organization does not know where to start. Data collection may occur from time to time, but there is no formal reporting. There are no data systems in place, such as dashboards or simple collection methods. Staff are often overwhelmed by the thought of measurement and it falls to the bottom of the to-do lists. Alternatively, there may be an emphasis on collecting more data than is necessary, but no one relates it to decision-making. There is not a reflection process for analyzing success or failure for future use, testing and coordinating. At this stage, the organization is regularly collecting data, but it is stored across different spreadsheets and collected by different people or departments. Data are not linked to organizational results or mission-driven goals across programs. Discussions on how to improve results are rarely part of staff meetings. Scaling and institutionalization. At this stage, there is an organization-wide system and dashboard for collecting data that are shared with different departments. There are different views or levels of detail for senior leaders, line staff, or other stakeholders. There are periodic, for example, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly, check-ins to evaluate what is working and what is not. The organization provides training and professional development for staff to learn how to use measurement tools. Empowering. At this stage, performance indicators are used across programs throughout the organization. There is a staff position responsible for setting the overall agenda for data collection and reporting, helping staff understand data, and assuring that systems and timelines are successful. All staff, however, are empowered and expected to check, apply, and interpret their own data. In addition to periodic check-ins, the organizational dashboard includes goal-oriented performance metrics. The organizational dashboard is shared across departments and there is a process for analyzing, discussing, and applying results. Data visualization techniques are used not only to report the data analysis but also to reflect on best practices culled from the data. JIT, just-in-time, pull systems. Just-in-time, JIT, is a management philosophy that originated in the 1970s. Taichi Ono is credited with developing JIT and perfected it for Toyota's manufacturing plants in Japan. The main goal of JIT is to eliminate anything that does not add value from the customer's perspective. Non-value-added activities are referred to as waste in JIT. Examples of waste include overproduction beyond what is needed to satisfy immediate demand, waiting time, work in process, customer waiting, unnecessary transportation, material handling, customer travel through a facility, etc., processing wastes, yield rates, startup costs, inventory storage wastes, space, deterioration, obsolescence, etc., unnecessary motion and activity, waste in work techniques, etc., waste from product and service defects, rework, scrap, warranty, etc. There are three essential elements that contribute to the successful practice of JIT. JIT manufacturing principles: total quality management, TQM, employee empowerment. JIT manufacturing principles. In a manufacturing setting, there are 6 major ways to pursue JIT goals: inventory reduction to expose wastes, use of a demand pool production system, quick setups to reduce lot sizes, uniform plant loading, flexible resources, and cellular flow layouts. Inventory reduction to expose wastes. Inventory covers up a lot of wasteful practices, poor equipment, weak vendors, bad quality, long setup times, etc. By gradually lowering inventory, the weaknesses of the production system can be revealed and addressed one by one. Machines can be replaced or better maintained, vendors' quality and delivery can be improved, machine setup procedures can be streamlined, quality practices can be implemented, and labor and equipment can be laid out more efficiently. These improvements permit the organization to operate with less inventory, less costs, and faster response times in meeting customer needs. Demand pool production system. The traditional approach to manufacturing management promotes a strong focus on machine and labor utilization. The view is that if managers make sure that workers and machines are always busy, then surely the factory will be productive and efficient. This approach is called the push system of manufacturing, where raw material and work in process is continuously pushed through the factory in the pursuit of high utilization. The problem with this approach is that it usually produces high levels of inventories, long lead times, overtime costs, high levels of potential rework, and workers who are competing with one another rather than working cooperatively. In contrast to the push system, JIT espouses our demand pool system that operates on the rule that work should flow to a work center only if that work center needs more work. If a work center is already occupied with work activity, the upstream work center should stop production until the downstream work center communicates a need for more material. The emphasis on maintaining high utilization is removed in a JIT environment. The focus of a JIT environment is on addressing the challenges that affect the overall effectiveness of the factory setup: time reduction, quality improvement, enhanced production techniques, waste elimination, etc., in meeting its strategic goals, rather than allowing excess inventory to cover up inefficiencies that reduce the factory's competitiveness. Quick setups to reduce lot sizes. The longer it takes, and the more expensive it is to set up equipment and labor to produce an item, the greater the quantity of items that have to be produced in a given production run. Traditional production management philosophy promoted the notion that long production runs of the same item were the key to driving down unit costs. The problem was that large production runs created large quantities of WIP and finished goods inventory that far exceeded the demand. These items would consequently cause high levels of inventory costs, long lead times, high potential rework, low flexibility in responding to customer needs, etc. Driving down setup costs and setup times are key to dramatically improving factory competitiveness in a JIT environment. In the 1980s, the 3M company converted a factory that made a few adhesive products in long production runs into a factory that made over 500 adhesive products in small production runs. To keep unit production costs under control, 3M studied the setups on its coating machines. Since the cost of chemical waste disposal was a major part of the cost of changing over a coating machine to make another product, 3M shortened the length of hoses that needed purging and redesigned the shape of the adhesive solution holding pan on the coating machine to be shallow. 3M also used quick connect devices, disposable filters, and work teams to speed up setups. The result was that 3M could maintain low unit costs on its coating machines while producing small lots of hundreds of products to meet market demand quickly. Uniform plant loading. The successful practice of JIT means having the right quantities of the right products in the right place at the right time. Driving down setup times enables the company to produce the product mix and quantities that are demanded in the present time period. Flexible resources. The enemy of JIT is uncertainty. A JIT environment thrives on predictability in customer demand, production processes, suppliers, and workers. Of course, uncertainty cannot be completely eliminated in most organizational environments. The defense against uncertainty that cannot be driven out is to implement flexible resources that can adapt easily to changing circumstances. General purpose, movable equipment that can fulfill a wide variety of production requirements is one way to improve flexibility. For example, drilling machines with quick change bits which can be wheeled into position to form new work cells allows the factory to maximize efficiency while producing exactly what is needed to satisfy immediate demand. Another example is Toyota's use of paint canisters that attach to paint sprayers. Any car can be painted any color without having to purge hoses and switching from one color to another. Multifunctional workers are another way to bring flexibility to the work environment. At Honeywell's heating and cooling controls plant, workers are trained to operate all the machines on their work line. The flexibility that comes from multifunctional workers changes the nature of how work gets done. Instead of workers being trained on one machine and working independently of one another, multifunctional workers have a big picture view of the production line, where every worker understands all aspects of the line and how to work together to meet quality and schedule goals regardless of the circumstances. Line cellular flow layouts. Earlier in this chapter, we described the efficiencies that repetitive process layouts provide. Repetitive process layouts are perfectly suited for driving out non-value-added activities and transitioning to a JIT environment. Intermittent layouts feature dozens or even hundreds of different paths through the facility. They are filled with complexity, uncertainty, and low visibility. Workers tend to have specialized skills, work independently of other departments, and have little sense of ownership of the products they work on. In contrast, cell layouts promote JIT goals by featuring unidirectional product flows, high visibility, and fast throughput times. Workers with multifunctional skills are assigned to individual cells and have responsibility and control of the products they produce. Workers in a cell environment tend to have a greater sense of ownership and pride in their work because they have a big picture view of the product as it is converted from raw material to a finished good. This deeper understanding of the production process increases the opportunities for workers to contribute ideas for process improvements. Total quality management, TQM, was discussed in detail earlier. TQM goes hand in hand with the JIT philosophy because quality is a major source of uncertainty and non-value-added activities in an organization with poor quality practices. TQM promotes continuous improvement, doing it right the first time, designing quality into products and processes, and establishing an overall focus on prevention as the primary quality activity. Employee empowerment. Frontline employees play a critical role in successful JIT practice. They work in partnership with management and each other in the continuous pursuit of excellence. There are several ways in which frontline employees contribute to JIT success. Employees work together in problem-solving teams to gather data and build consensus on how to improve work processes. Employees are responsible for understanding the quality measures of their work and what they need to do to meet the needs of internal and external customers. Each employee is empowered to take action to correct problems. Employees have cross-functional skill sets that allow them to be assigned to areas which need help, and to help them adopt a broader, big picture, view of the production process. Unlike a traditional push environment where line workers are relatively independent of one another in their work activities, JIT employees are connected by the demand pull discipline, where work is not produced unless the downstream work center needs it. Demand pull promotes the interconnectedness of workers. Frontline employees are responsible for the basic maintenance of their machines. This helps employees have a better understanding of the condition of their equipment and its ability to meet quality and production requirements. Management works with employees by being coaches and facilitators rather than authoritative supervisors. Managers are charged with hiring employees who can work in a proactive team environment, and provide the training and incentives to build a work culture that is focused on continuous improvement. Conclusion. The evolution of JIT into lean operations. The JIT philosophy has evolved from a manufacturing-focused management approach to a set of management principles that can be applied to any organization. Lean operations is a term that is replacing JIT, especially in service environments. Lean operations captures the true essence and power of how our culture built around continuous improvement and the pursuit of value-added activities leads directly to competitive advantage in the marketplace. Lean operations is a management philosophy for any organization to achieve higher quality, increased productivity, improved delivery speed, greater responsiveness to changing markets, and increased customer satisfaction. Lean thinking. Lean thinking is a business methodology that aims to provide a new way to think about how to organize human activities to deliver more benefits to society and value to individuals while eliminating wastes. The term lean thinking was coined by James P. Womack and Daniel T. Jones to capture the essence of their in-depth study of Toyota's fabled Toyota production system. Lean thinking is a way of thinking about an activity and seeing the waste inadvertently generated by the way the process is organized. It uses the concepts of value streams flow. The aim of lean thinking is to create a lean enterprise, one that sustains growth by aligning customer satisfaction with employee satisfaction, and that offers innovative products or services profitably while minimizing unnecessary costs to customers, suppliers and the environment. The basic insight of lean thinking is that if you train every person to identify wasted time and effort in their own job and to better work together to improve processes by eliminating such wastes, the resulting enterprise will deliver more value at less expense while developing every employee's confidence, competence and ability to work with others. The idea of lean thinking gained popularity in the business world and has evolved in two different directions. Lean thinking converts who keep seeking to understand how to seek dynamic gains rather than static efficiencies. For this group of thinkers, Lean thinking continuously evolves as they seek to better understand the possibilities of the way opened up by Toyota and have grasped the fact that the aim of continuous improvement is continuous improvement. Lean thinking as such is a movement of practitioners and writers who experiment and learn in different industries and conditions, to lean think any new activity. Lean manufacturing adepts who have interpreted the term lean as a form of operational excellence and have turned to company programs aimed at taking costs out of processes. Lean activities are used to improve processes without ever challenging the underlying thinking, with powerful low-hanging fruit results but little hope of transforming the enterprise as a whole. This corporate lean approach is fundamentally opposed to the ideals of lean thinking, but has been taken up by a great number of large businesses seeking to cut their costs without challenging their fundamental management assumptions. Overview. Lean thinking was born out of studying the rise of Toyota Motor Company from a bankrupt Japanese automaker in the early 1950s to today's dominant global player. At every stage of its expansion, Toyota remained a puzzle by capturing new markets with products deemed relatively unattractive and with systematically lower costs while not following any of the usual management dictates. In studying the company firsthand, it appeared that it had a unique group of elder sensei and coordinators, trainers from Japan, dedicated to help managers think differently. Contrarily to every other large company, Toyota's training in its formative years was focused on developing people's reasoning abilities rather than pushing them to execute specialist-derived systems. These sensei, or masters in lean thinking, would challenge line managers to look differently at their own jobs by focusing on the workplace, going and seeing firsthand work conditions in practice, right now, and finding out the facts for oneself rather than relying on reports and boardroom meeting. The workplace is also where real people make real value, and going to see is a mark of respect and the opportunity to support employees to add value through their ideas and initiative more than merely make value through prescribed work. The management revolution brought by lean thinking can be summed up by describing jobs in terms of job equals work plus Kaizen value through built-in quality, understanding that customer satisfaction is paramount and is built in at every step of the enterprise's process. From building in satisfying features, such as peace of mind, to correctly building in quality at every production step. Built-in quality means to stop at every doubtful part and to train yourself and others not to pass on defective work, not to do defective work and not to accept defective work by stopping the process and reacting immediately whenever things go wrong. Value streams through understanding takt time. By calculating the ratio of open production time to average customer demand, one can have a clear idea of the capacity needed to offer a steady flow of products. This takt rhythm, be it a minute for cars, 2 months for software projects or 2 years for a new book, leads to creating stable value streams where stable teams work on a stable set of products with stable equipment rather than optimize the use of specific machines or processes. Takt time thinking leads to completely different capacity reasoning than traditional costing and is the key to far more frugal processes. Flow through reducing batch sizes. Every traditional business, whether in production or services, is addicted to batch. The idea is that once work is set up one way, we'd better get on and quickly make as many pieces of work as we can to keep the unit cost down. Lean thinking looks at this differently in trying to optimize the flow of work in order to satisfy real demand now, not imaginary demand next month. By working strenuously on reducing changeover time and difficulty, it is possible to approach the lean thinking ideal of single-piece flow. In doing so, one reduces dramatically the general cost of the business by eliminating the need for warehouses, transports, systems, subcontractor use and so on. Pull to visualize takt time through the flow. Pulling work from upstream at takt time through visual devices such as Kanban cards is the essential piece that enables lean thinkers to visualize the gaps between the ideal and the actual at the workplace at any time. Pull is what creates a creative tension in the workplace by both edging closer to single-piece work and by highlighting problems one at a time as they occur so complex situations can be resolved piecemeal. Pull is the basic technique to lean the company and, by and large, without pull there is no lean thinking. Seeking perfection through Kaizen. The old-time sensei used to teach that the aim of lean thinking was not to apply lean tools to every process, but to develop the Kaizen spirit in every employee. Perfection is not sought through better, more clever systems or go-it-alone heroes but through a commitment to improve things together step by small step. Kaizen literally means change for the better, and Kaizen spirit is about seeking 101% improvements from everyone every day everywhere rather than one 100% leap forward. The practice of Kaizen is what anchors deep lean thinking in people's minds and which, ultimately, leads to complete transformation. Practicing Kaizen together builds self-confidence and the collective confidence that we can face our larger challenges and solve our problems together. Lean thinking practices. Experience shows that adopting lean thinking requires abandoning deeply ingrained mainstream management thought routines, and this is never easy. The three main ways to adopt lean thinking are, unsurprisingly, aha moments by seeing someone behave in a striking way, or hitting upon a new idea by reading a book, visiting a workplace, or being beaten over the head by an old-time sensei. Aha moments are powerful, but unfortunately rare, and need the right conditions to occur. Everyday practice by the daily use of lean practices. These practices mainly originate from Toyota and are essentially think with your hands exercises. Their purpose is not to implement new processes, as they are too often interpreted, but practical activities to lead one to see the situation differently and have new ideas about it, to adopt a lean way of thinking. Joining lean self-study groups by practicing Kaizen with others and identifying which role models one would like to follow. The lean community is now a generation strong and has many great examples to offer to any lean learner, whether beginner or experienced. Workplace visits with experienced lean thinkers remain one of the most effective ways to grasp their meaning. In the lean thinking tradition, the teacher should not explain but demonstrate. Learning is the full responsibility of the learner. However, to create the proper conditions for learning, the lean tradition has adopted a number of practices from Toyota's own learning curve. The aim of these practices is not to improve processes per se but to create an environment for teachable and learnable moments. Kaizen activities, whether cross-functional workshops, team quality circles, individual suggestions, and many other exercises. Kaizen activities are about scheduled moments to improve the work within the normal working day. The point of Kaizen is that improvement is a normal part of the job, not something to be done when there is time left after having done everything else. Kaizen is scheduled, planned, and controlled by a teacher who makes sure Deming's plan do check at is followed rigorously. Kanban. Kanban is the foundational practice of lean thinking. The Toyota production system used to be first known as the Kanban system. Any process will have different output. For instance, nowadays, a writer will produce books, keynote speeches, blog posts, tweets and answer emails. The question is, at the present time right now, how can the person using the process know whether they are doing what is needed for customers right now or whether they are working ahead on something not that important and lagging behind on something critical? In project management, this creates segments ahead and segments late, an end of project panic. In production, this creates entire warehouses of inventories to compensate for the inability to produce right now what is needed. Kanban is a simple technique using cards or post-it notes to visualize leveled, that is average to avoid peaks and troughs, activity at the process. The writer will start a new book when she's delivered one. She will worry about the new conference when it's time to. She will write a new blog post at a steady rhythm rather than publish 5 in a rush and then 1 and so on. In production, Kanban cards make sure employees are working on what is needed right now and not overproducing parts which will then linger in inventory whilst others will be unavailable. Kanban is the main practice to reveal all misfits between today's activities and how the market behaves. Kanban teaches one lean thinking by constantly challenging assumptions about market behavior and our own flexibility. Automation. In any contemporary setting, everyone uses either machines or software to do any work. Yet, this automated work still requires specific human judgments to be done right. As a result, many machines can't be left alone to work because they're likely to go wrong if someone doesn't watch them all the time. Automation is the practice of progressively imparting human judgment to a system so that it self-monitors and stops and calls a human when it feels it went wrong, just as our desktop computer will flag a virus alert if it feels under attack. Automation is essential to separate people from machines and not have humans doing machine work and vice versa. Automation teaches lean thinking by revealing new ways of designing lighter, smarter machines with less capital expenditure. And calling out when something feels out of kilter and to visualize that call on central board so that help can come quickly. Lean thinking is thinking together and no employee should be left alone with a problem. And is a critical system to be able to train employees in the details of their job within their own operations. and teaches lean thinking in highlighting the immediate barriers to the lean goal of zero defect at every step of the process at all time. Through and it is possible to think better about training people and improving the work conditions to take all difficulties away. SMED, originally known as Single Minute Exchange of Die, Changing Tools Under 10 Minutes, SMED is a key lean thinking practice to focus directly on flexibility. Flexibility is central to flow and always a problem, even for an engineer's mind. How flexible is the group to move from one topic to the next? Flexibility doesn't mean changing everything all the time, but the ability to switch quickly from one known activity to the next. SMED teaches lean thinking and always seeking to improve flexibility until one reaches true single-piece flow in the right sequence to respond to instant customer demand. Standardized work. Lean thinking is about seeking the smoothest flow in any work, in order to see problems one by one and resolve them one by one, thus improving both the flow of work and the autonomy of the person. Standardized work is the graphic description of this smooth flow of work at tack time with zero or one piece of work in process and clear location for everything and steps. Tricky quality points are also identified clearly, to make sure the person visualizes first, what is important for the customer, how to distinguish okay from not okay at every step and have to move confidently from one step to the next. Standardized work teaches lean thinking by visualizing every obstacle to smooth work each person encounters and highlighting topics for Kaizen. Visualization. Most lean thinking techniques are about visualization in some form or other so that people can see together, know together and thus learn together. Visual control is the essential trigger to creative problem solving as all can see the gap between what was planned and what actually happened and can seek both immediate countermeasures and root causes. Visualization teaches lean thinking by getting people to work together on their own problems and develop their responsibility to reaching objectives without overburden. It's about people first. Lean thinking departs markedly from mainstream management, individual customers rather than market segments. Without denying the need to think in terms of segments, lean thinking is about taking seriously every single customer complaint and opinion of the product or service. As a fact, the ability to service every customer specifically is only limited by the flexibility of the company's process, and lean thinking is about seeking a way to reach the ideal of serving each individual's preferences. Teaching employees how to learn rather than telling them what to do. Lean thinking's aim is to develop each person's autonomy in problem solving by supporting them in their continuous improvement activities. This is a radical break from Taylorism, where a group of specialists will devise the one best way and line management will be tasked to enforce it. By contrast, lean thinking is taught to managers so that they help their own direct reports to think lean and reduce overburden, unneeded variation and activity waste by working more closely with their teams and across functional boundaries. Lean thinking at senior level creates leaner enterprises because sales increase through customer satisfaction with higher quality products or services, because cash improves flexibility reduces the need for inventories or backlogs, because costs reduce through identifying costly policies that create waste at value-adding level, and because capital expenditure is less needed as people themselves invent smarter, leaner processes to flow work continuously at tack time without wastes. Lean manufacturing. After learning this session, you should be able to apply 5S in any machine shop, describe Kaizen concept, describe implementing lean manufacturing. Lean 5S. 5S is a method of workplace organization that consists of 5 words: sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. All of these words begin with the letter S. These 5 components describe how to store items and maintain the new order. When making decisions, employees discuss standardization, which will make the work process clear among the workers. By doing this, each employee will feel ownership of the process. Phase 0, safety. It is often assumed that a properly executed 5S program will improve workplace safety, but this is false. Safety is not an option, it's a priority. Phase 1, sort. Review all items in the workplace, keeping only what is needed. Phase 2, straighten. Everything should have a place and be in place. Items should be divided and labeled. Everything should be arranged thoughtfully. Employees should not have to bend over repetitively. Place equipment near where it is used. This step is a part of why Lean 5S is not considered standardized cleanup. Phase 3, shine. Make sure that the workplace is clean and neat. By doing this, it will be easier to be aware of where things are and where they should be. After working, clean the workspace and return everything to its former position. Keeping the workplace clean should be integrated into the daily routine. Phase 4. Standardize. Standardize work procedures and make them consistent. Every worker should be aware of what their responsibilities are when following the first 3 steps. Phase 5. Sustain. Assess and maintain the standards. The aforementioned steps should become the new norm in operation. Do not gradually revert to the old ways. When taking part of the new procedure, think of ways to improve. Review the first 4 steps when new tools or output requirements are presented. Kaizen. While the Lean 5S process focuses on the removal of wastes, Kaizen focuses on the practice of continuous improvement. Like Lean 5S, Kaizen identifies 3 main aspects of the workplace: MUDA, wastes, neuro inconsistencies, and MURI, strain on people and machines. However, the Kaizen step-by-step process is more extensive than the Lean 5S process. The Kaizen process overview: identify a problem, form a team, gather information from internal and external customers, and determine goals for the project. Review the current situation or process. Brainstorm and consider 7 possible alternatives. Decide the 3 best alternatives of the 7. Simulate and evaluate these alternatives before implementation. Present the idea and suggestions to managers. Physically implement the Kaizen results and take account of the effects. Lean manufacturing improves as time goes on, so it is important to continue education about maintaining standards. It is crucial to change the standards and train workers when presented with new equipment or rules. Lean. Think of a maintenance department as serving internal customers, the various departments and workers in the company. Lean is different from the traditional Western, mass production model that relies on economies of scale to create profits. The more you make, the cheaper the product will become, the greater the potential profit margin. It is based on predictions of customer needs, or creating customer needs. It has difficulty dealing with unusual changes in demand. Lean production responds to proven customer demand. Pull processing. The customer pulls production. In a mass system, the producer pushes product onto the market. Push processing. Building a long-term culture that focuses on improvement. Respect for workers, better trained and educated, more flexible. Lean is a philosophy that focuses on the following: meeting customer needs, continuous, gradual improvement, making continuously better products, valuing the input of workers, taking the long-term view, eliminating mistakes, eliminating wastes, using too many resources, materials, time, energy, space, money, human resources, poor instructions, wastes, overproduction, defects, unnecessary processing, wasting time, wasting human time and talent, too many steps or moving around, excessive transportation, excessive inventory. Lean production includes working with suppliers, subcontractors, and sellers to streamline the whole process. The goal is that production would flow smoothly, avoiding costly starts and stops. The idea is called just-in-time. Produce only what is needed, when it is needed, and only in the quantity needed. Production process must be flexible and fast. Inventory equals just what you need. In mass production equals just in case. Extra supplies and products are stored just in case they are needed. Terminology: process simplification, a process outside of the flow of production. Defects: the mass production system does inspection at the end of production to catch defects before they are shipped. The problem is that the resources have already been spent to make the waste product. Try to prevent problems immediately, as they happen, then prevent them. Inspection during production, at each stage of production. Safety: hurt time is waste time. Information: need the right information at the right time. Too much, too little, too late. Principles: poka-yoke, mistake proof, determining the cause of problems and then removing the cause to prevent further errors. Judgment errors: finding problems after the process. Informative inspections: analyzing data from inspections during the process. Source inspections: inspection before the process begins to prevent errors. Mean Lean: one of the terms applied to a simply cost-cutting, job-cutting interpretation of Lean is Mean Lean. Often modern managers think they are doing Lean without understanding the importance of workers and long-term relationships. Reliability-centered maintenance, RCM. Reliability-centered maintenance is a system for designing a cost-effective maintenance program. It can be a detailed, complex, computer, statistically driven, but at its basics it is fairly simple. Its ideas can be applied to designing and operating a PM system, and can also guide your learning as you do maintenance, troubleshooting, repair and energy work. These are core principles of a CM. These 9 fundamental concepts are: failures happen. Not all failures have the same probability. Not all failures have the same consequences. Simple components wear out. Complex systems break down. Good maintenance provides required functionality for lowest practicable cost. Maintenance can only achieve inherent design reliability of the equipment. Unnecessary maintenance takes resources away from necessary maintenance. Good maintenance programs undergo continuous improvement. Maintenance consists of all actions taken to ensure that components, equipment, and systems provide their intended functions when required, and a CM system is based on answering the following questions. What are the functions and desired standards of performance of the equipment? In what ways can it fail to fulfill its functions? Which are the most likely failures? How likely is each type of failure? Will the failures be obvious? Can it be a partial failure? What causes each failure? What happens when each failure occurs? What is the risk, danger, etc.? In what way does each failure matter? What are the consequences of a full or partial failure? What can be done to predict or prevent each failure? What will it cost to predict or prevent each failure? What should be done if a suitable proactive task cannot be found? Default actions: no task might be available, or it might be too costly for the risk. Equipment is studied in the context of where, when, and how it is being used. All maintenance actions can be classified into one of the following categories: corrective maintenance, restore lost or degraded function. Preventive maintenance, minimizes opportunity for function to fail. Alterative maintenance, eliminate unsatisfactory condition by changing system design or use. Within the category of preventive maintenance, all tasks accomplished can be described as belonging to one of five major task types: condition directed, renew life based on measured condition compared to a standard time directed, renew life regardless of condition failure finding, determine whether failure has occurred. Servicing, add replenish consumables. Lubrication, oil, grease or otherwise lubricate. We do maintenance because we believe that hardware reliability degrades with age, but that we can do something to restore or maintain the original reliability that pays for itself. RCM is reliability centered. Its objective is to maintain the inherent reliability of the system or equipment design, recognizing that changes in inherent reliability may be achieved only through design changes. We must understand that the equipment or system must be studied in the situation in which it is working. Implementing lean manufacturing. Analyze each step in the original process before making change. Lean manufacturing main focuses is on cost reduction and increases in turnover and eliminating activities that do not add value to the manufacturing process. Basically, what lean manufacturing does is help companies to achieve targeted production, as well as other things, by introducing tools and techniques that are easy to apply and maintain. What these tools and techniques are doing is reducing and eliminating wastes, things that are not needed in the manufacturing process. Manufacturing engineers set out to use the Six Sigma DMAIC, design, measure, analyze, improve, control, methodology, in conjunction with lean manufacturing, to meet customer requirements related to the production of tubes. Manufacturing engineers were charged with designing a new process layout of the tube production line. The objectives for project were including improved quality, decreased scrap delivery to the point of use, smaller lot sizes, implementation of a pull system, better feedback, increased production individual responsibility, decreased whip die flexibility. Before making changes, the team analyze each step in the original layout of the tube production line process. They try to understand the original state process, identify the problem area, unnecessary step and non-value added. After mapping the process, the lean team collected data from the Material Review Board, MRB, bench to measure and analyze major types of defects. To better understand the process, the team also did a time study for 20 days period production run. In the original state, the tube line consisted of 1 operator and 4 operations, separated into 2 stations by a large table using a push system. The table acted as a separator between the second and third operation. The first problem discovered was the line's unbalanced. The first station was used about 70% of the time. Operators at the second station were spending a lot of their time waiting between cycle times. By combining stations 1 and 2, room for improvement became evident with respect to individual responsibility, control of inventory by the operator, and immediate feedback when a problem occurred. The time study and the department layout reflect these findings. A second problem was recognized. Because of the process flow, the production rate did not allow the production schedule to be met with 2 stations. Because operators lost track of machine cycles, machines were waiting for operator attention. Operators also tried to push parts through the first station, the bottleneck operation in the process, and then continued to manufacture the parts at the last two operations. Typically, long runs of WIP built up, and quality problems were not caught until a lot number of defective pieces were produced. The original state data were taken from the last 20 days before the change. The teams analyze each step in the original and making changes. The findings of the time study on the original process provided the basis for reducing cycle time, balancing the line, designing the using just-in-time Kanbans and scheduling, improve quality, decrease lot size and WIP, and improve flow. The new process data were taken starting 1 month after implementation. This delay gave the machine operators an opportunity to train and get with the new process layout system. With the U-shaped cell design, the parts meet all the customer requirement. Table in the original process was removed, almost eliminating WIP. With the reducing WIP and increasing production, some of the concepts used to improve the process included total employee involvement, TE, smaller lot sizes, scheduling, point of use inventory, and improved layout. All employees and supervisors in the department were involved in all phases of the project. Their ideas and suggestions were incorporated in the planning and implementation process to gain wider acceptance of the changes to the process. Smaller lot sizes were introduced to minimize the number of parts produced before defects were detected. Kanbans were introduced, in the form of material handling racks, to control WIP and to implement a pull system, and the cell layout decreased travel between operations. Operators were authorized to stop the line when problems arose. In the original state, the operators were still continue running parts when our operation was down. With Kanban control, the layout eliminated the ability to store WIP, requiring the operator to shut down the entire line. The cell layout provides excellent opportunities for improving communication between operators about problems and adjustments, to achieve better quality. Day-to-day inspection of the original state process. The operators spent a lot of time either waiting for material handling person, or performing as material handling. With the U-shaped cell, delivery to the point of use is more better for the operator. The operator places boxes of raw material on 6 movable roller carts, where it's easily to get. The 6 boxes are enough to last a 24-hour period. To reduce setup times, tools needed for machine repair and adjustments are located in the cell. The screws are not standardized. Tools are set up in order of increasing size to quickly identify the proper tool. For 3 months the process was monitored to verify that it was in control. Comparison of time studies from the original state and the implemented layout demonstrated an increase in production from 300 to 514 finished products per shift. The new layout eliminated double handling between the second and third operations, as well as at the packing step. It also reduced throughout time by making it easier to cycle all 4 operations in a pull system order. Customer demand was met by 2 shifts, which reduced the labor cost. The results of the redesign are as follows. WIP decreased by 97%, production increased 72%, scrap was reduced by 43%, machine utilization increased by 50%, labor utilization increased by 25%, labor costs were reduced by 33%, Sigma level increased from 2.6 to 2.8. This project yielded reduced labor and scrap costs, and allowed the organization to do a better job of making deliveries on time, while allowing a smaller finished goods inventory. Daily production numbers and single part cycle time served as a benchmark for monitoring progress towards the goal. Although the Sigma level increase, the 43% reduction in defects, 97% reduction in WIP, and production increase of 72% contributed to the project objective. Implementing Lean is a never-ending process. This is what continuous improvement is all about. When you get one aspect of Lean implemented, it can always be improved. Don't get hung up on it, but don't let things slip back to the starting point. There will always be time to go back and refine some of the processes. Before Lean manufacturing was implemented at Nipro Oregon Inc., we would operate using traditional manufacturing. Traditional manufacturing consists of producing all of a given product for the marketplace so as to never let the equipment idle. These goods then need to be warehoused or shipped out to a customer who may not be ready for them. If more is produced than can be sold, the products will be sold at a deep discount, often a loss, or simply scrapped. This can add up to an enormous amount of wastes. After implementing Lean manufacturing concepts, our company uses just-in-time Just in time refers to producing and delivering good in the amount required when the customer requires it and not before. In lean manufacturing, the manufacturer only produces what the customer wants, when they want it. This is often a much more cost-effective way of manufacturing when compared to high-priced, high-volume equipment. Architecting lean enterprises. What is lean enterprise? Lean enterprise refers to a production principle stating that any component of a business enterprise that fails to directly benefit a final product is superfluous. Lean enterprise focuses on value creation while eliminating waste and non-essential processes. The most valuable elements of a product or a service are largely decided by consumers, based on the discretionary income they are willing to pay for an item. Understanding lean enterprise. Lean enterprise is sometimes simply referred to as lean, although both terms came into popular usage in the 1990s. The concept itself was devised by Toyota Motor Corporation when it introduced the Toyota Production System, TPS. Developed by Eiji Toyoda and Taiichi Ono, the Toyota Production System, TPS, integrated socio-technical management philosophy and was practiced between 1948 and 1975. The lean enterprise philosophy was also inspired by telecommunications giant Motorola, which implemented a manufacturing principle known as LeanSixSigma in 1986. This quality control methodology uses a data-driven review to limit mistakes and defects in the production process. At its core, a company that adopts lean enterprise combines these two disciplines in order to maximize value for customers while slashing the money and resources spent on creating the products and services in question. Lean enterprise principles. According to lean thinking, banish waste and create wealth in your corporation, co-written by economist James Womack and Daniel T. Jones, lean enterprise is characterized by the following 5 chief tenets. For value. This pertains to the manner in which end customers value a certain product or service as it relates to their wants or needs. Value stream. This breaks down the life cycle of a product or service, including the acquisition of raw materials, the manufacturing of goods, the sale and delivery of inventory, and the ultimate consumption of items by end users. Flow. If any iteration of the value stream is stagnant or inefficient, it is considered wasteful and antithetical to creating customer value. Pull. This is a directive stating that nothing should be produced until there is clear demand or official purchase orders from customers. Perfection. This ethos states that any element of the process that results in inferior product quality shall be excised from the manufacturing process. What does it take to become a lean enterprise? In our experience, there are 3 keys to successful implementation of lean: leadership commitment, employee involvement and execution. These form the foundation that will allow lean to take root and drive results. Leadership commitment. A true lean enterprise is only achieved if it is rooted in the culture of a company. It becomes part of the DNA of how the company operates, how employees view and handle challenges as well as opportunities. Leaders need to provide encouragement, reinforcement and most of all, lead by example. Often, employees see lean as a fad or, like mentioned above, a manufacturing initiative. Only when they see that leadership is practicing lean day in and day out will the employees fully believe in its power and commit 100%. They can develop the drive for continuous assessment and improvement that makes a lean enterprise a sustainable entity. Employee involvement. Employee involvement is a key to success for 2 reasons. First, it builds ownership of change. People are more likely to adopt change they help design rather than change thrust upon them. Second, the people doing the work are in the best position to understand how the work gets done and are better suited to solve any issues that may arise. For that reason, involving the employees in the lean enterprise transformation is a key factor. There are numerous practices and tools that can be used depending on your unique situation, but from our experience there are 3 practices that ensure employee involvement and empowerment to drive the sustainable change and embed it in the culture. Continuous improvement. Through proven lean tools and practices, employees are empowered to always look to eliminate waste and improve their work stream's communication process. Employee suggestions and transparency encourages continuous communication of changes, ideas and issues throughout the transformation and after its implementation. Effective change management. In a transformation, employee resistance to change can be detrimental to meeting the goals if not properly managed. When all employees, regardless of position or function, are immersed in lean thinking, a powerful lean culture is created. The core of a lean enterprise is made up of a culture that is always consciously and subconsciously thinking lean. Execution. Effective execution requires a focused direction and detailed plan to address near-term and longer-term needs that build the business capabilities to support fluctuating business climates. Without a structured plan, direction becomes foggy, leadership will not fully grasp the benefits of the implementation, and employees will lose faith in the process. A generic representation of entrepreneurial lean thinking to architect lean enterprises. The plan should strive to be in the same form as the desired results, streamlined with a clear view ahead. The focus should be based on a comprehensive company-wide plan, staying disciplined throughout the transformation and throughout the organization, clearly defining accountability for not only leadership, but for all employees. Effective communication of accountability and progress throughout the transformation. Organizational culture and change leadership. In the context of organizational change, we look for methods that will support sustainability, that is, obtaining enduring benefits. The decision to implement lean is typically a decision of senior management, that is, a top-down change initiative. While there are many models of the change management process, the process is not always as successful as intended. As change management shows, abrupt changes result in resistance. At the deeper level, lean is a culture, that is, a set of organizational attitudes, rather than a mere use of tools. The sustainability depends on organizational culture and the collective response to the change. Furthermore, many of the lean tools are sophisticated in their requirement for a particular type of culture, including strong intrinsic motivation at the shop floor level for the processes, for example, Kaizen, 5S, quality circles, work cells, and Six Sigma. Thus, implementing lean requires a change management process that fosters the outcomes, hence change leadership through coaching as opposed to merely directive top-down change. Lean methods or tools, a selection of some, not all of lean methods, indicating the importance of having a selection criteria and prioritization method for implementation. In a lean system, the respect for humans principle is equally important as the elimination of wastes. Lean is commonly associated with the latter, and the respect for humans component is largely neglected. True lean involves a focus on the people of an organization, creating a culture that empowers staff at all levels to make innovative changes that improve productivity by reducing wasteful action. MUDA. This creates dynamic and flexible learning organizations of emergent change. Efficient and effective communication processes enable collaboration and consensus along with shared vision and engagement. In this way, respect for humans works synergetically with and for waste elimination. Neglecting the human component jeopardizes the sustainability of the change and makes it difficult to reach the level of cultural excellence for continuous improvement. A popular representation of this is the iceberg model of Hines et al., with the lean tools, processes, and techniques being the visible component above the waterline, with the unseen supporting functions being strategy, leadership, and employee behavior and engagement. This introduces a time dimension to the implementation, since culture is not instant. Consequently, it may be necessary to build that culture. Specifically, lean is implemented in stages over time, by selecting tools that are appropriate to the organization at that point in time. It may be wiser to first implement simpler methods with the view of engagement and acceptance of staff as opposed to attempting to immediately introduce the more complex lean tools. These become small wins that build momentum and staff confidence. Employees need to be engaged to support a difficult method, like JIT. Thus, even though certain lean tools may hold the promise of high returns, they may also be risky to implement. Failure could ruin future chances of success and engagement. Implementation of lean is therefore an organizational strategy regarding the changing of culture over time, by the selective and progressive implementation of lean tools that are situational relevant for that organization at that time, followed by further implementation later when the culture has caught up. Practitioners typically describe this deliberate temporal progression as the lean journey. Thus, the concept of continuous improvement, CI, applies not only to the technical operations but also the strategic implementation at organizational level. The residual difficulty is that of deciding which lean tools are relevant for the organization at that point in its journey. This is a question to which we return, and in the next section we show how consideration of organizational risk can lead to a solution. Risk management in lean enterprises. All ventures that an organization undertakes of risk, that is, uncertain opportunity and threat. The risk management, RM, methods encourage a deliberate and integrated consideration of both these outcomes. Various standards have defined risk in the sense of both negative and positive aspects. are the core concepts in the RM method of the partitioning of the problem into two variables, consequence and likelihood. Thus the analysis task reduces to determining first the magnitude of the outcome, which may be positive or negative, corresponding to opportunity or threat, respectively, and then the likelihood of that outcome. The magnitude of the outcome may be represented quantitatively or qualitatively. Likewise, the likelihood may be quantified in a probability or expressed as a subject qualitative statement, very rare, almost must certain. These two variables are then combined to give an overall score for the risk. If the variables are all quantitative, then a simple product operation is used, but qualitative variables require a mapping process. The process is repeated for several scenarios under consideration, and the RM method assists the decision-making by identifying the scenario with the highest risk, or lowest as the case may be. The risk management method is particularly effective for quantitative variables and has therefore found widespread adoption in engineering, finance, particularly insurance, and project management situations. Although the method as a whole claims to be applicable to strategic decision-making even at the highest level of the organization, and examples of this are available, this is not a particularly well-developed capability of RM. In Lean implementation, we are particularly focused on what is desirable in terms of Lean success and sustainability, and undesirable in terms of failure of the implementation. Intersection between Lean implementation and risk management. There has been some prior work at the intersection of these two bodies of knowledge. One line of inquiry, although perhaps not risk management per se, has been to identify critical success factors for Lean implementation. Innovative frameworks and manufacturing techniques, for example, core competency-based framework and emergent manufacturing methods, have been applied to reduce specific risks. The two methodologies have been compared, and applications in Lean itself have been used to identify and treat uncertainties risks. In construction projects, processes including supply chain modeling have been used to support mitigation of risks. The applicability of RM in selecting Lean Six Sigma projects has been identified. Regarding the specific question of how to manage the risks in the implementation of Lean, there has been work on matching of Lean system strategy to risk identification, using a systems engineering approach, and use of project management methods. It has been suggested to merge Lean thinking and high reliability to balance the non-buffered, fragile nature of Lean. There is lack of methods to improve the reliability of Lean implementation. In summary, reviewing the literature, we found little to no application of a standardized risk assessment to a Lean implementation project. Two other methodologies have some relevance. These are agile manufacturing and theory of constraints. However, neither of these have shown any major integration with risk management, though some movement has been made in that direction. While the Lean and risk management practices each have well-established literature, there is currently no integration between the two. This is despite the fact that the implementation of Lean is full of risks, both the opportunities that the managers seek to capture, and the threats and failed implementations that too frequently result. The purpose of this paper is to develop a methodology for assessing the risks, both the threats and the opportunities, of the Lean methods. The particular area of interest is contextual decision-making. We wish to be able to better identify the Lean tools that are relevant to specific situations. The area under examination is SME manufacturing firms, because Lean is particularly difficult to implement in such organizations. This is worth attempting, for the potential to avoid failed Lean implementation, the attendant wasted organizational effort, resistance against future attempts. Key takeaways from Lean enterprises. Lean enterprises are business term describing the practice of reducing or eliminating inefficiencies in the production process. The underlying principles behind Lean enterprise were originated by Toyota Motor Corporation's Toyota Production System, TPS, and by Motorola's Lean Six Sigma program, both of which stress removing wasteful production elements. The main goal is to recognize and increase the value of products or services for customers, whose perspectives and consumer habits ultimately dictate Lean enterprise directives. Lean project management. Lean project management is a concept for planning and controlling projects. Lean project management combines the instruments and methods of project management with the ideas of Lean management. The range of approaches extends from the verbatim transfer of the methods and/or principles of the Toyota production system to project management to freer, contextual interpretations. If one follows the interpretation of the Lean idea by James P. Womack and Daniel Ruse, this is how the Lean concept can be summarized in 5 principles that can be transferred to project management. Some of these principles have to be implemented in time-limited, novel projects with the help of other methods than in permanent, repetitive production processes. Principles specify the optimal benefit-cost ratio from the customer's point of view. The first problem that Lean project management has to solve is that both external and internal projects are started without any clear benefit for defined customers. This is important for the Lean idea insofar as it makes little sense to make the management of a project Lean if the project as such is wastes. The task of working out the benefits of a project before the start of the project is the task of the initiation phase in all standards for project management. In this phase, the first step towards Lean project management can be achieved through methods for specifying and validating the project benefit as well as for project selection. Define the minimum value-adding work packages and work processes. A second problem that Lean project management addresses is the increasing bureaucratization of project management, which often means that customers, project results and value-adding activities neglected. In this situation, Lean project management has the task of identifying the minimum value-adding work packages and work processes that led to the optimal benefit-cost ratio for the customer and making them as clear, simple and transparent as possible. This can be achieved through a result-oriented design of project management activities and/or through a systematic reduction of bureaucracy and project management standards in organizations. Establish clear responsibilities, tasks and competencies at the lowest possible organizational level. A third problem to which Lean project management has to provide answers is the unclear assignment of responsibilities between project and line, client, on the one hand and between project manager and project staff on the other. In both cases, these ambiguities usually arise in conjunction with questions about the distribution of power. The demands of Lean project management at this point are, firstly, to establish clear responsibilities, tasks and competencies between the individual roles and, secondly, to place them as low as possible in the hierarchy. This can be achieved with the help of classical methods of organizational theory, role design or job design and coordination mechanisms, and leadership theory, delegation and control. The product, or result, of a project is created, maintained, adapted, updated, and demolished retired by various projects during its life. Ensure a continuous flow of results by limiting work in progress. A fourth problem with which Lean project management is confronted consists of long lead times, continuous interruptions, chronic quantitative and qualitative overloading of project employees and the associated risks for the adherence to deadlines, budgets and quality of projects. The main reason for this is to be found in too much work in progress or in progress, work in progress, in an organization or in a project. In this situation, Lean project management has the task of significantly reducing the amount of open work in a project-oriented organization and in the projects themselves in order to enable a largely uninterrupted and continuous flow of results at a sustainable speed. Critical chain project management can be achieved with the help of work-in-progress limits, Kanban, or time boxing, Scrum. Identify errors immediately and eliminate them sustainably. A fifth problem area to which Lean project management approaches are expected is the optimization of measures for quality assurance of projects. Analytical measures, such as lessons learned, are in part either not carried out, do not analyze the benefits of the project for the project customers and/or are not used as a basis for the design of further projects. Constructive measures of quality planning, assurance and control have positive effects on project planning and tracking, but not verifiable and repeatable on the realization of benefits for the customer. Firstly, this requires methods to identify errors in projects, since project errors are not synonymous with specification deviations in production. Second, methods are required to identify these in projects at an early stage and either to eliminate them or to solve them sustainably. Methods for this can be found in the daily Scrum, and in the service operation of ITIL. The principles show, first, that Lean project management is not a new or different project management, but seeks to free established standards and practices of project management from reactive power, a type of wastes. Secondly, it becomes clear that in Lean project management already established methods from project management, from agile approaches as well as from organizational and leadership theory are used, which makes it unnecessary to reinvent or relabel existing methods. Thirdly, the principles of Lean management can be applied to both classic and agile or hybrid approaches, which makes the approach independent of the process model chosen. Project types. The core ideas of Lean project management have already been used in different domains. Lean construction. In construction projects in particular, the integration of Lean principles into project management has been considered for some time. Lean product. Lean software development. Since the 1980s, there have been a number of approaches to Lean product development and Lean software development, the importance of which has increased significantly due to the increasing proportion of software in products. Each life cycle stage raises new questions about the success of the initial, making stage project. Lean innovation. Lean startup. In more recent times and inspired by the spread of agile approaches in product development, there is also increasing talk of Lean innovation, and Lean startups and approaches to Lean and agile innovation management are proposed. How does Lean project management work? The introduction of Lean project management in the company or in the project world is not an easy task. In contrast to standardized project management, the following factors represent a hurdle during implementation. Lean project management is not a project management tool that can be standardized in such a way that it can be used in all types of projects without adaptation. Lean project management cannot be designed according to the one-size-fits-all principle. The characteristics of Lean project management in the sample products Lean product development and Scrum make this clear. Anyone who expects Lean project management checklists and predefined tools has not understood Lean management. These tools are only a means to an end and are tailored to the respective task as required. What is essential is the Lean philosophy, which is the real value of Lean project management. The core elements are dealing with problems and errors, the focus on the value of the project result, avoiding the waste of resources and time through activities that do not add value, the flexible reaction to changes in the project environment during the project period, and a convincing project vision. Establishing a Lean project management culture is a task that takes on a period of time that can span several years and only makes sense where project teams work together with the appropriate continuity. This is typically the case in corporate product development and software development. Product lifecycle can ultimately include recycling portions of the product. A tailored change management. For this task, change management required. If these hurdles are successfully overcome, projects can be carried out more successfully in terms of project budget, duration and quality of results. Agile, fast feedback in living order. Lean was originally developed in the world of manufacturing but has been adopted in many industries. In the world of software development, a related approach, Agile, has become increasingly popular. Agile software development projects typically involve small, self-organizing teams who work collaboratively in short iterative cycles to produce working product increments. When you hear people talking about Agile, they may be referring generally to a set of values and principles intended to guide project teams in achieving agility by continuously adapting and improving the way they work. However, people often use the term Agile to refer to one of the many specific software development frameworks based on those values and principles, including the following. The many flavors of Agile include Scrum, designed for completing complex projects using small, cross-functional, self-organizing teams. Scrum is the most widely used form of Agile. When people refer to Agile software development, they are usually talking about Scrum practices, and we often do the same in this ebook. Kanban, based on Lean principles, Kanban focuses on incremental change and continuous process improvement. Central to this simple framework is the Kanban board, which is a visual display of all the project work in progress, the work waiting to be started, and the work already completed. Extreme programming, XP, emphasizing short development cycles with frequent releases of software for evaluation. XP is based on a set of software development best practices. Crystal, dynamic systems development method, DSDM, and feature-driven development, FDD. These are some of the other more popular Agile frameworks. Most Agile approaches emphasize an iterative approach to product development, with the project specifications evolving along with the customer's notion of the software requirements. According to project manager Steve Casserly, in a Microsoft Growth Center article, projects using these iterative development approaches plan, develop, and implement project functionality in small chunks, or iterations. The key to successful iterative delivery is that each small chunk effectively operates as a smaller mini-project under the umbrella of the total project. Casserly 2019. A Scrum project starts with a conversation between the development team and the product owner about what the customer wants the software to do. In Scrum terminology, the customer is the product owner, and the features that the product owner wants included in the software are known as user stories, which may be expressed in simple, non-technical language from the perspective of the person who wants that feature. For example, as a car owner, I want to schedule my service appointment online so that I don't have to spend time on the phone calling my mechanic. Often, the person is a fictional persona representing a type of user or stakeholder. The product owner prioritizes the user stories, which are collectively referred to as the product backlog, and in each development cycle, the team creates pieces of software that address one or more user stories. After a 1 to 2 week cycle of development, known in Scrum as a sprint, the team presents the new software to the product owner in a sprint review meeting so she can try it out and make suggestions for improvement. The team then begins another sprint, incorporating those suggestions into a new iteration and beginning work on new user stories, depending on their capacity. After every sprint, the product owner has the chance to redirect the team to new user stories, or to revise the team's understanding of an existing user story. Through these repeated interactions, which provide fast, focused feedback, the team and the product owner zero in on a software application that does what the product owner needs it to do. If time and money are tight, as they often are, the product owner has regular opportunities to make choices about which user stories are the most important, and which can be dispensed with if necessary. Agile development is essentially a learning process through which the development team and the product owner create a shared understanding of how many features they can create, given the allotted time and money. It's very much a living order approach to project management, in that the early stages involve some ambiguity and many unknowns. According to Robert Merrill, a senior business analyst at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and an Agile coach, Agile is a way to manage projects in the face of unpredictability and constraints, often very rigid time and budget constraints. The fast feedback allows the team to create the best possible software within the given constraints. 2017. Although Agile had its roots in software development, companies have also expanded its use into a variety of project types, including manufacturing, product development, capital projects, and service projects. For one perspective on how an iterative, Agile approach can help manufacturing companies take advantage of new technologies, some companies use a combination of Agile frameworks, often called hybrid Agile, or a combination of some predictive, plan-driven processes with elements of an Agile framework, also called a hybrid development approach. A hybrid Agile project might include classic Scrum elements such as a product owner and development sprints, as well as a Kanban board that is used to pull work based on capacity. A hybrid development approach could involve predictive project planning along with more flexible Agile development cycles. Decisions about which approach to use, whether it is a strictly Agile approach, such as Scrum, or a hybrid approach, should be based on the needs of the project as well as the organizational environment in which the project will unfold. Paul Dan Durden, CEO of PyMatrix, a company whose products include a visual project management software platform, argues that there is value in both Agile and predictive, or waterfall, approaches. He proposed a hybrid Agile waterfall manifesto in a blog post that also highlights what he sees as the limitations of the original Agile manifesto, Hybrid Agile Manifesto and Spider-Man. Hackathons, fostering an Agile culture. Hackathons, another type of Agile experience, are typically multi-day events in which software developers work on a solution to a specific problem with the goal of generating a number of innovative ideas and/or prototypes. Hackathons are similar to Agile sprints, but typically involve more intensive collaboration, with participants gathering in one place and dividing up into teams. Originating as a way for anyone to get involved in creating open-source software, hackathons are now common on college campuses and in the corporate world. For a glimpse into how MasterCard uses hackathons to generate new product ideas and foster an Agile culture within its organization. What is Six Sigma? Six Sigma is a defined and disciplined business methodology to increase customer satisfaction and profitability by streamlining operations, improving quality and eliminating defects in every organization-wide process. Six Sigma and DMAIC methodology overview. What is Six Sigma? Six Sigma is a business strategy. Using Six Sigma methodology, a business can strategize its plan of action and drive revenue increase, cost reduction and process improvements in all parts of the organization. A vision. Six Sigma methodology helps the senior management create a vision to provide defect-free, positive environment to the organization. A benchmark. Six Sigma methodology helps in improving process metrics. Once the improved process metrics achieve stability, we can use Six Sigma methodology again to improve the newly stabilized process metrics. For example, the cycle time of pizza delivery is improved from 60 minutes to 45 minutes in our pizza delivery process by using Six Sigma methodology. Once the pizza delivery process stabilizes at 45 minutes, we could carry out another Six Sigma project to improve its cycle time from 45 minutes to 30 minutes. Thus, it is a benchmark, a goal. Using Six Sigma methodology, organizations can keep a stringent goal for themselves and work towards achieving them during the course of the year. Right use of the methodology often leads these organizations to achieve these goals. A statistical measure. Six Sigma is a data-driven methodology. Statistical analysis is used to identify root causes of the problem. Additionally, Six Sigma methodology calculates the process performance using its own unit known as Sigma unit. A robust methodology. Six Sigma is the only methodology available in the market today which is a documented methodology for problem solving. If used in the right manner, Six Sigma improvements are bulletproof and they give high-yielding returns. What is quality? Different individuals and organizations have given different definitions for quality. Let's study some of those definitions. Deming. Quality is defined from the customer's point of view as anything that enhances their satisfaction. Duran. Fitness for use. Those product features which meet the needs of customers and thereby provide product satisfaction. Freedom from deficiencies. ASQC. The totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bear on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. COPC. Quality is defined as knowledge of agents that would enable them to provide accurate and consistent solution to the customer at the very first attempt. ISO. Degree to which a set of inherent characteristics of a product or service fulfill requirements. Simply stated, quality comes from meeting customer expectations. This occurs as a result of four activities: understanding customer requirements, designing products and services that satisfy those requirements, developing processes that are capable of producing those products and services, controlling and managing those processes so they consistently deliver to their capabilities. What is the hidden factory? The hidden factory is the set of activity, or activities, in the process that result in reduction of quality or efficiency of a business process or manufacturing department, and it's not known to managers or others seeking to improve the process. Six Sigma focuses on identifying hidden factory activities to eliminate the root causes. One of the examples of hidden factory will be creating multiple versions of a status update presentation by the project management team because all of the requested information was not received by the due date from all the departments. Six Sigma works effectively to identify the hidden factory situations, questions the status quo, removes it, and thus it improves business profits and reduces wastes. Six Sigma Process Excellence Disciplines. Process Excellence. Process Documentation. Process Excellence and Process Documentation helps the project team to define, measure and control the business processes. Six Sigma and Lean tools are used for both Process Excellence and Process Documentation. Process Excellence and Process Documentation ensures standardization across different processes in the same organization department, allows business continuity in case of non-availability of key subject matter experts, SMEs, helps to understand the current state of the process and also to measure the performance of the future state of the project. Six Sigma Process Excellence Disciplines. Process Improvement, DMAIC. Process improvement is an effort to identify high-priority problems in business processes and to train teams to tackle those problems. The methodology used is called DMAIC. It is an acronym for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, Control. In the define phase, the project is defined. In measure phase, data is collected, Measurement system is validated and current performance is identified. In analyze phase, root causes are identified. In improve, solutions are created and implemented, and in control phase, new performance is sustained. Lean tools such as Value Stream Map, VSM, Pull and Kaizen are leveraged to process improvement. Lean is the set of management practices based on the Toyota Production System, TPS. This methodology is deployed in selected processes to identify and eliminate non-value-added activities and hence increase the operational efficiency. Lean is quick and avoids rigorous data analysis. There are two critical factors of Lean: value-added and non-value-added. Value is what the customer cares for. It is doing the right things the first time. When we say value-added, our product or service should add value to the process. Similarly, we should focus on removing non-value-added activities from the process. History of Six Sigma. Developed by Michael Harry and Bill Smith, Motorola. Motorola was amongst the first recipients of the Malcolm Baldrige Award, National Quality Award in 1988. Six Sigma history. Throughout its history and evolution, Six Sigma turned into a business-driven, multi-dimensional structured approach to reinforce business strategies in two various aspects such as improving processes, lowering defects, reducing process variability, reducing costs, increasing customer satisfaction, increasing profit. How does Six Sigma work? Identify business problem. At the beginning of a Six Sigma project, the business problem is defined. Questions such as what, when, where are addressed in a problem statement. Magnitude and consequence of the problem is also discussed. Project scope is identified. Identify statistical problem. Root causes for the business problems are identified. Those root causes are converted into statistical problems using hypothesis testing methods. Trivial many causes. These are all the possible causes of the given problem. They may cause impact to the problem. Vital few causes. These are the few critical causes which cause maximum impact over the problem. Identify statistical solution. Identification of only 3-4 vital root causes using statistical analysis is achieved. These root causes are vital because they have maximum impact on the problem. Any given problem follows a Pareto principle, which states that 80% of the problems are caused due to 20% of the root causes. Solutions to these root causes are studied and an optimal value for each solution is identified. Identify business solution. These statistical solutions are then converted to implementable practical solutions. Implementation of these business solutions is carried out in the process. Improvements are observed and sustained. What is Sigma and why is it Six Sigma? Mean is the arithmetic average of a process dataset. Central tendency is the tendency of data to be around this mean. Standard deviation, also known as sigma or Greek letter sigma, determines the spread around this mean central tendency. The more number of standard deviations between process average and acceptable process limits fits, the less likely that the process performs beyond the acceptable process limits, and it causes a defect. This is the reason why a 6 Greek letter sigma, 6 sigma, process performs better than 1 Greek letter sigma, 2 Greek letter sigma, 3 Greek letter sigma, 4 Greek letter sigma, 5 Greek letter sigma processes. Obviously 7 or more Greek letter sigma processes are even better than a 6 Greek letter sigma, 6 sigma, process, and yet throughout the evaluation and history of 6 sigma process, the practitioners gained the belief that a 6 Greek letter sigma process is good enough to be reliable in almost all major situations except some systems whose defects can cause unrepairable consequences. LSL and USL stand for lower specification limit and upper specification limit respectively. Specification limits are derived from the customer requirements, and they specify the minimum and maximum acceptable limits of a process. 6 Sigma stands for 6 standard deviations, 6 Greek letter sigma between average and acceptable limits. For instance, in a car manufacturing system, the desired average mean length of car door can be 1.37185 meter. In order to smoothly assemble the door into the car, LSL can be 1.37179 meter, and USL can be 1.37191 meter. To reach a 6 Greek letter sigma quality level in such a process, the standard deviation of car door length must be at most 0.00001 meter around the mean length. Sigma is also the capability of the process to produce defect-free work. Higher the capability, lower the defects. Processes in various sigma levels. In the above figure, the red curve indicates a 2 Greek letter sigma level of performance where we observe that its peak is very low. Fewer outputs are around the desired average, and the variation is from extreme left to extreme right of the figure. If the process improves from 2 green letter sigma to 3 green letter sigma, green curve, you will observe that the process variation reduces and the process has a larger peak. More outputs are around the desired average, but a different average than red curve. As the process performance increases from 3 green letter sigma to 6 green letter sigma, blue curve, the process becomes centered between the upper and lower specification limits and does not have much variation. Here with blue curve the majority of process outputs are around the desired average. This is why it is good and it causes less defects beyond the lower and upper specification limits. In the above table, you will observe that as the sigma level increase the defects decrease. For example, for a 2 green letter sigma process the defects are as high as 308,537 in 1 million opportunities. Similarly, for a 6 green letter sigma process the defects is as low as 3.4 in 1 million opportunities. The 2 green letter sigma performance level will have more defects than a system in 6 green letter sigma performance level as the standard deviation for a 2 green letter sigma process is much larger than the standard deviation for a 6 green letter sigma process. Sigma level versus DPMO defects per million opportunities. Can we have any process which has 6 green letter sigma level of performance? The answer is yes. Pharmaceutical companies, airline manufacturing organizations, automobile manufacturers, among others are bound to work at a sigma level which is either 6 green letter sigma or more than that. If they are not able to perform at this efficiency, the organization cannot exist. Think about it, you are in the air, 5,000 feet above the ground, flying in a Boeing 777 aircraft and suddenly a nut bolt in the wing of the plane loosens, probably due to manufacturing defect, making it difficult for the pilot to steer the flight. This is the only reason why defects are not welcome and organizations try to achieve higher sigma levels. 6 sigma versus DPMO examples. In the above examples, sigma indicates the sigma level, spelling indicates the total spelling errors, money indicates the amount of fine indebtedness that can occur due to the misspellings, time indicates the total time it takes to correct those misspellings, DPMO indicates the total defects in 1 million opportunities. We can clearly observe that as the sigma level increase, the defects, misspellings, decrease, the indebtedness reduce and the time for a work also reduces, thus it reduces the DPMO defects per million opportunities. What is the focus of 6 sigma? Focus of 6 sigma. Y is outcome, S, or result, S, you desire and need from a process. This is our dependent factor and it depends on the X's. X represents the input factors that could result in Y. There could be multiple X's. These are independent factors represents the presence of error, or uncertainty surrounding how accurately the X's are transformed to create the outcome. In other words, the input variable, S, are transformed by a function, or process, and combined with error to form the output. The Y results from, or is a function of the X's. To determine a desired outcome, you apply a transformation process or function, F, on the inputs. For example, the formation of a thin sheet of iron undergoes several processes. The input variables are iron ore, wrought iron, charcoal, other chemicals and a furnace. This wrought iron is transformed through use of all of the input raw materials in the right proportion and heating in the furnace into a desired outcome. The raw materials and furnace is the X's, the mixing of raw materials and heating of the transformation process function F, and the resulting iron sheet is the Y. Can be the varying degree of temperature throughout the furnace resulting in non-uniform sheet of metal, errors in the process. In the pizza delivery example, some of the reasons for not meeting the pizza delivery time of 30 minutes could be heavy traffic, delivery driver did not know the delivery address, pizza was not prepared in time, among others. Thus, in this example, delivery time of pizza is Y and the reasons for not delivering the pizza on time are X's. After understanding the 2 examples described above, in order to get results, should we focus on Y or X? Focus the causes, X, and not the result, Y. Whenever you do a 6 Sigma project, the focus of the project team needs to be on identifying of causes and mitigating them. The result will automatically improve if the causes are dealt correctly. In the above example, formation of an iron sheet is the result and all the input materials are the causes. Thus, focus on the causes and not the result. How does 6 Sigma DMAIC process work? Let us now understand how the DMAIC process works. DMAIC is an acronym for its 5 phases: define, measure, analyze, improve and control. DMAIC is a Six Sigma methodology which helps in achieving process improvements by reducing variation. Each phase-off has its own significance, and we will understand how DMAIC process reduces many root causes to only a few vital root causes. Let's look at the below diagram. As we see above, the define phase looks at all the x's. Here x is an independent variable as discussed in the previous section. In the measure phase, we get the first hit list where the root causes, x's, are reduced to just 10-15. In analyze phase, we screen the available list and reduce the root causes to 8-10. In improve phase, we identify just 4-8 critical x's, and in control phase, we are controlling only 3-6 root causes, x's. Thus, by controlling just 3-6 root causes, we are able to positively impact the project Six Sigma DMAIC process. Characteristics of a successful project should be related to your day-to-day work, should be manageable in terms of time frame, should be aligned with business goals, and results should preferably address only one CTQ, critical to quality. Parameters should address issues which are important to the customer. The improvements that you do should be locally actionable. In the above characteristics, we have a CTQ parameter. Here, CTQ stands for critical to quality. In layman's language, CTQ is nothing but a metric that helps in measuring the extent of performance. CTQ can be of various types such as CTD, critical to delivery, CTP, critical to process, among others. Some of the examples of CTQs are cycle time in a process, quality scores, yield percent, among others. Projects must be tightly bound and must not focus on solving broad issues such as global warming or world's pollution. When a Six Sigma project is initiated, it generally happens that we do not scope the project appropriately. During the course of the project, we keep adding additional parts to the project, and the team has to manage these additional items which were not considered earlier. This phenomenon of including additions to the project is termed as scope creep and leads to challenges in project execution at a later stage. Projects which led to scope creep are termed as projects which are trying to solve global warming. In order for the projects to achieve the desired results, they must be tightly bound and must not focus on solving broad issues. A process-focused business constantly realigns processes to remain capable of meeting changing market demands. Only by gaining predictability can an enterprise truly maintain capable processes to changing customer demands. Here, we should focus on getting the voice of process to understand the real nuances that it may face during the course of its operations. Voice of process helps in understanding the metrics and the inherent fluctuations of these metrics. Three key terms that help us define process capability are process baseline, process entitlement, process benchmark. Six Sigma facilitates in understanding variation in our business processes. Let's understand the three key terms. Process baseline. Process baseline is the average long-term performance level of a process when all the input variables in the process are running in an unconstrained fashion. Long-term performance is the performance of the process over a period of time. Process entitlement. Process entitlement is the best-case short-term performance level of a process when all the input variables in the process are centered and in control. Short-term performance is the performance of the process at any given point of time. Process benchmark. Process benchmark is the performance level of the process deemed by comparison to the best process possible. It takes us to the best that anyone has ever done. In practical terms, this means researching and finding the best that has ever been done in the industry. Six Sigma roles and responsibilities. Six Sigma roles are primarily divided into two segments: initiative leadership, project leadership. Apart from the above two segments, the overall Six Sigma methodology required the following roles: Six Sigma deployment leader, Six Sigma champion, Six Sigma master black belt, MBB, Six Sigma black belt, BB, Six Sigma green belt, GB, Six Sigma yellow belt, YB, Six Sigma coach, Six Sigma trainer. Let's look at how Six Sigma roles are bifurcated into the required segments. Six Sigma project roles. Six Sigma deployment leader. As a group, business leaders must own and drive Six Sigma by doing the following: establish business objectives and the role of Six Sigma to achieve those goals. Create an environment which enables success, including goals, measures, coaching, and communication, among others. Actively participate in Six Sigma activities and projects. Success of the effort is very highly correlated to the interest and time invested by business leaders. Deliverables of a Six Sigma deployment leader. Six Sigma strategy and rollout plan for the overall organization. Hire team of master black belt, black belts, among others, work with MBB to identify organization vision and mission, provide a goal for the organization to drive Six Sigma at all levels. Benefits of being a Six Sigma deployment leader for organization and for self-career. Six Sigma deployment leader helps the organization to develop the Six Sigma culture and helps nurture a culture of continuous process improvement. Driving Six Sigma in the organization allows the deployment leader to run the company to its full potential, thus leveraging him the additional budget for taking more initiatives. Six Sigma champion, project champions, sponsors, are the managers of the business, function, or value stream which has been identified as high priority for a Six Sigma team. They play a pivotal role in that they own the processes of the business and, therefore, must ensure process improvements are captured and sustained. They typically also manage Six Sigma Green Belts, GBs, and must understand the challenges faced by GB associates, for example, removing roadblocks. They also must work with BBs and MBBs to ensure that their business area has developed, and is implementing, a long-term vision of a Six Sigma operating environment across the entire operative base. Some more details and associated deliverables on the role of Six Sigma champion, sponsor, training. Sponsors must participate in available Six Sigma trainings, provide visible support for Six Sigma MBB, BBMGBs and provide access to resources needed to conduct the project. Scope, set very clear scope for all Six Sigma projects. Ensure that the project is clearly defined, has a scope which can be managed within 4-6 months, and which has high likelihood of success. Watch the project as it progresses to ensure that the scope stays strictly within the bounds originally set. Expectations, set high expectations on the value of the results. Ensure the goals are not sub-optimized. The Six Sigma process has proven in many cases to deliver value far beyond initial estimates. Less than aggressive goals will yield less than aggressive results. Facts, challenge experts on their knowledge of facts and the basis of their conclusions. Involvement, sponsors are expected to interact with project teams on a regular basis to participate in problem solving, make decisions, and allocate resources. Plan to spend at least 2 hours every other week with the project team. Handover, sponsors will be responsible for ensuring that the business takes ownership of the implementation and delivers the value indicated in the control phase. This requires a specific individual who will own the delivery of the project metrics. Results, sponsors, as well as Six Sigma mentors and business controllers, are responsible for ensuring that project results hit the bottom line of the organization. Benefits of being a Six Sigma champion, sponsor, for organization and for self-career. Champions set the direction of process improvements in the organization. They link the benefits of the project to organizational priorities. Champions can create a portfolio of projects which could range from projects in customer satisfaction, service, cost and quality. It provides the champions the visibility in the process and also showcases his abilities to top management to manage a varied portfolio of projects. Six Sigma Master Black Belt, MBB. These individuals are responsible for translating the high-level business goals into a Six Sigma strategy for the division and the supporting tactics. They work with the deployment leader to achieve the former. They also led the development of the Six Sigma skills in the organization, for black belts, green belts, and the general associate base. MBBs have ultimate responsibility to ensure the quality, value, and sustainability of Six Sigma projects under their guidance. Six Sigma interacting roles. MBBs are responsible, together, for the success of the overall Division Six Sigma effort. They coordinate and lead activity on key cross-division value streams, for example customer service, cycle time, research, etc. They also ensure that a culture that values openness, creativity and challenging the status quo develops in the organization. Deliverables of a Master Black Belt, Six Sigma strategy and rollout plan in the organization. Function Manager project of the Function Mentor teams achieve Lean Six Sigma results. Cross-functional leadership project execution and removing roadblocks. Benefits of being a Master Black Belt for organization and for self-career. MBB helps to set the culture of Six Sigma right from the grassroots level in the organization. Black belts are benefited due to the mentoring and statistical skills of MBB. MBB can grow up the ladder and become the Chief Quality Officer as he gains experience and expertise in the field of Six Sigma. Six Sigma Black Belt, BB. Six Sigma BBs are full-time part-time project leaders and mentors of the business, including green belts and other associates. They have tactical responsibility for executing specific projects and ensuring that the results are captured. The changes are owned by the champions, sponsors, and the changes are sustained. They will also lead Six Sigma knowledge transfer to both full and part-time participants. BBs are expected to create an environment of open, honest debate of facts. They challenge the status quo where appropriate and share, and seek, ideas across boundaries. Deliverables of a black belt: Six Sigma strategy and role. Outplan for the given process area, execute projects, help and guide project resources, help remove project level barriers, team and project structuring, Six Sigma project results, mentor green belt, share best practices. Benefits of being a black belt for organization and for self-career. BBs are responsible for taking the process improvements to the next level in the organization. BBs are highly trained on improving results for the organization using statistical analysis and Six Sigma tools. Hence, they have a very lucrative career path ranging from business analysts to process improvement experts. Six Sigma Green Belt, GB. Six Sigma Green Belts are the engine of Six Sigma projects. Black belts support the efforts of the broader business teams to identify and implement change. The GBs are part-time Six Sigma project leaders. They're responsible for scoping the projects, leading the project team, calling for help when needed, managing interfaces with business leaders, and ensuring sustainable results. The goal of GBs is to translate the value of Six Sigma to the specific work environment and problems. Deliverables of a green belt: project execution, team and project structuring, Six Sigma project results, share best practices. Benefits of being a green belt for organization and for self-career: GBs have authority in their respective processes and can get the work done effectively. This is a very critical aspect for the organization as it builds its process improvement structure within each process. For self-career, GBs receive exposure to senior management directly by virtue of the projects and get the opportunity to make a difference in the organization. Six Sigma Yellow Belt, YB, these are the project-specific, full or part-time resources that provide process and cross-functional knowledge, as well as help to sustain the gains. They have co-ownership of the project with the Six Sigma experts and are responsible for the quality of the work and results. This team also plays the critical role of translating the process gains from Six Sigma to other areas of the business after the specific project has been completed. This is the true leverage of Six Sigma methodology. Deliverables of a yellow belt: a yellow belt has basic knowledge of Six Sigma. They do not lead projects on their own, as does a green belt or black belt. YB participates as a core team member or subject matter expert, SME, on DMAIC project or projects. Supports green belt or black belt in developing process maps, helping with data capture, facilitating simulation, and improvements. YBs may often be responsible for driving smaller process improvement projects using Lean tools or best practice sharing in their processes. Benefits of being a yellow belt for organization and for self-career: for any project, yellow belts are those individuals who are the subject matter experts, SMEs of their respective processes and also have the basic know-how of Six Sigma. They are the spokes of a wheel and can help drive any Six Sigma process to closure by using their process expertise. Organizations can greatly benefit by choosing the right YBs for the right projects. For self-career, YBs get exposure of channelizing their subject knowledge to process improvement opportunities, yielding tremendous benefits for self-understanding. Functional roles versus Six Sigma roles: example of a mobile phone factory which intends to transition to Six Sigma methodology in a mobile phone factory. Six Sigma versus business process reengineering, BPR, a comparison. What is business process reengineering, BPR? BPR is process of streamlining the processes by challenging each step of the current process. The classic example of BPR is from the banking industry. In the late 1980s and late 1990s, if we wanted to withdraw money from our bank account, following steps were involved. Go to the bank during banking operation hours, fill in the withdrawal requisition slip, submit the slip and receive a token number, wait until our token number is announced by the cash teller, then receive the money. The above process had a lot of drawbacks. We could go to the bank only during their operational hours. Certain banks did not have many branches and thus, we had to go to the location of the bank. We had to fill the withdrawal requisition slip. We had to wait in a queue where others are also waiting to withdraw money and so on. What did the banking industry do? They radically changed the entire process and in the early 2000s got in the ATM machines. Do we now need to go to our banks? Do we have to wait in queues? Do we need to fill any withdrawal slips? Everything's changed. This kind of a process improvement is called as business process reengineering. In contrast to BPA, Six Sigma is an approach which focuses on variation or uncertainty, reduction in processes. It is the only methodology available which is a documented process improvement methodology. Unlike BPA, Six Sigma uses a 5-step method to identify root causes and provide world-class solutions. Six Sigma does not involve a complete overhaul of the process like BPA. However, it requires out-of-the-box thinking and questioning status quo to identify and implement solutions. An example of a banking process will be as follows. Consider that you are applying for an account opening process in a bank. You will need to go through the following steps. Meet the bank's representative and fill out account opening form. Provide KYC, know your customer. Details on submit identification proofs. Telephonic verification takes place. Physical home address verification takes place. Account is created and checkbook and ATM card is sent to customer address. The above process may have an account opening timeline target of 48 hours and the mean performance of the process may be 40 hours. However, the variation may be as high as 8 days. There may be multiple instances where the account opening took place as late as 8 days. That's a long time, which is good enough to have angry customer. And the customer does not look at the mean performance but looks at the specific variation just happened to him. When a Six Sigma project is applied to above process, it focuses on reducing this variation and streamlining the processes to achieve customer satisfaction. It may not necessarily change the entire process flow like it takes place in BPA. This is the key difference between Six Sigma and BPA. Below is a brief comparison of BPA and Six Sigma. Six Sigma versus business process reengineering, a comparison. What is statistics? In today's world, we are constantly being bombarded with statistics and statistical information. For example, customer surveys, transactional data, marketing information, personal information, among others. Key questions to answer are, how can we make sense out of all this data? How do we differentiate valid from flawed claims? Let's take a scenario where you are working with a computer manufacturing organization and want to measure customer satisfaction score for the purchase product. You have kept the target for satisfaction as 80%, and the result of the first 1,000 surveys is 82%. Have you really achieved customer satisfaction with this result? On doing statistical analysis, you may find your mean survey performance may be 82%. However, the variation within the survey questions is very high. That is, there are many customers who may have rated low on the survey questions, specifically for the product, and would have also not liked the product. Thus, even if you considered 82% as an achieved score for customer satisfaction, your product may not likely survive in the market for long. Thus, knowing only some arbitrary measurements within or outside specification limits doesn't prove much about the real performance and quality. However, only statistics can reveal here the performance and quality, and this is why Six Sigma is great, powerful and better than other gut feeling oriented improvement methodologies. So, what is statistics then? Statistics is a way to get reliable information from data. What is statistics? Statistics is a tool for creating new understanding from a set of numbers. Statistics can be better understood under two branches: descriptive statistics, inferential statistics. What is descriptive statistics? Descriptive statistics is a method of organizing, summarizing, and presenting data in a convenient and informative way. The actual method used depends on what information we would like to extract. Areas of interest for descriptive statistics: measures of central tendency, mean, arithmetic average. Mean is the arithmetic average computed by summing all the values in the dataset and dividing the sum by the number of data values. For a finite set of dataset with measurement values x1, x2, xn, a set of n numbers, it is defined by the formula, mean formula. The sample mean is represented by x bar. The population mean is represented by Greek letter. For a given dataset, 12, 14, 11, 12, 12, 12, 15, 17, 22, 15, 12. Sum of data points equals 12 plus 14 plus 11 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 15 plus 17 plus 22 plus 15 plus 12 equals 154. Number of data points equals, take a total count of observations, equals 11. Mean equals, Divide sum of data points into total number of data points, equals 154/11 equals 14. Median, the middle number in the data set, n/2, when arranged in ascending order, small to large. If there are odd numbers of observations, then median is the n+1 second ordered value. If there are even numbers of observations, then median is average of the two middle values. For a given data set, 12, 14, 11, 12, 12, 12, 15, 17, 22, 15, 12 ascending order, 11, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 14, 15, 15, 17, 22. Thus, the middle number in the dataset median equals 12. Mode is the data point having the highest frequency, maximum occurrences, for a given dataset, 12, 14, 11, 12, 12, 12, 15, 17, 22, 15, 12. Maximum occurring data point, mode equals 12. Quartiles. A quartile is any of the three values which divide the sorted dataset into 4 equal parts, so that each part represents 1/4 of the sampled population. First quartile, designated Q1, equals lower quartile equals cuts off lowest 25% of data equals 25th percentile. Second quartile, designated Q2, equals median equals cuts data set in half equals 50th percentile. Third quartile, designated Q3, equals upper quartile equals cuts off highest 25% of data, or lowest 75% equals 75th percentile. The difference between the upper and lower quartiles is called the interquartile range. Measures of central dispersion variation. Standard deviation, it can be interpreted as the average distance of the individual observations from the mean. Standard deviation of the population is represented as Greek letter sigma. Standard deviation of the sample is represented as S. Standard deviation formula. In the above formula, Sx stands for standard deviation of the sample. 11 is the value of each variable in the dataset. X bar represents the mean. N is the total sample size. And Greek letter sigma stands for summation. That is, it says that we need to take the sum of 11, x bar for all values of x. Variance. Variance is defined as the square of standard deviation. Variance of the population is represented as Greek letter sigma times Greek letter sigma. Variance for the sample is represented as S times S. Variance formula. In the above formula, Sx stands for standard deviation of the sample. 11 is the value of each variable in the dataset. X bar represents the mean. N is the total sample size. And Greek letter sigma stands for summation. That is, it says that we need to take the sum of 11, x bar for all values of x. Range. Range is defined as the difference between largest value in a dataset and the smallest value in a dataset. Range formula. Value max stands for the highest, maximum value in the dataset, and value min stands for the lowest, minimum value in the dataset. In a given dataset like 12, 13, 11, 12, 12 range, 13, 11 equals 2 mean, 12 plus 13 plus 11 plus 12 plus 12, 5 equals 12 variance, sum of x, mean, times, x, mean, comma n1, equals, 0 plus 1 plus 1 plus 0 plus 0, comma 5 1, equals 2 4 equals 0.50. Standard deviation, square root of 0.50 equals 0.7071. What is inferential statistics? Inferential statistics is also a set of methods used to draw conclusions or inferences about characteristics of populations based on data from a sample. The mean calculated for a population. Greek letter sigma. The standard deviation calculated for a population. Inferential statistics. Population, a complete set of data n samples, a subset of data representing the population n. We do sampling all the time. Whenever we execute a project, it has to be managed under many constraints such as time, costs, resources, among others. Thus, it may not be always feasible for the project to study 100% of the population to derive its inferences. For example, if we are improving the quality of ammunition manufactured in an ammunition factory, we may not be able to do quality test of 100% of the products. This is mainly because the product will get destroyed after testing. Thus, sampling is used in these cases where only a sample of products is taken in for quality testing and inferences are made for the population basis the result of this sampling. Some other examples of sampling include manufacturing of cars in specific lots. That is, a car manufacturing company manufactures its cars in lots. If it is a lot of 400 cars, They will only test 10-15 cars and make an inference of whether to accept the lot or reject it. Sampling helps in managing the project by utilizing less resources and is still effective in getting results. Sampling by and large is done by all of the organizations, and thus, it is an important topic for our discussion. Accuracy versus precision. Processes may have a problem of low accuracy and low precision. The processes and their associated measurements need to have high precision and high accuracy in order to produce the expected business outcomes. As we see in the picture on the top left corner, all the dots are concentrated in one corner of the board instead of being concentrated at the center of the dartboard. This is an example of high precision and low accuracy. Processes which have high precision and low accuracy need to work towards improving their accuracy so that they start achieving the target. Accuracy versus precision. Similarly, the picture on the top right corner indicates that all the dots are around the internal blue line of the dartboard but are not exactly on target. This is an example of a situation with high accuracy and low precision. Processes with high accuracy and low precision need to focus on improving their precision so that they start achieving the target. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Introduction to Define Phase. Define phase of Six Sigma DMAIC process consists of following activities. Step 1. Validating business opportunity and project CTQ, critical to quality, identification. Capturing voice of customer, VOC. Translating VOC into WHYs. Selecting key WHYs for the project. Initiate project charter for each WHY. Step 2. Project storyboarding and team charting. Create a business case, problem and goal statement. Scoping the project, project milestone, resource plan, roles and responsibility. Step 3. SIPRC and ASIS process mapping. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Define phase. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Introduction to measure phase. Measure phase of Six Sigma DMAIC process consists of following activities. Step 4. Identify possible project WHYs and data collection strategy. Collect data on performance of WHY. Collect data on WHY for stability. Step 5. Validate measurement system. Study the measurement system of WHY. Review R&D, repeatability and reproducibility, to validate the measurement system. Improve R&D if variation is high. Step 6. Determine process capability. Evaluate the capability of WHY. Calculate present Z value for WHY. Review baseline performance with set target and revise targets if required. Update project charter and obtain management approval. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Introduction to Analyze phase. Analyze phase of Six Sigma DMAIC process consists of following activities. Step 7. Identify vital project X's and statistically validate them. Develop a detailed business process map. Analyze the process map to identify variation sources. Determine the X's, the potential causes. Prioritize and collect data on X's. Quantify the relationship Y equals F, X. Identify the vital X's from the potential X's. Validate the vital X's. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Analyze phase. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Introduction to Improve phase. Improve phase of Six Sigma DMAIC process consists of following activities. Step 8. Generate potential solution and assess their failure mode. Develop feasible solutions to improve WHY. Determine operating limits of X's. Analyze cost benefits aspects of the feasible solutions. Step 9. Validate pilot solution, S. Develop a pilot plan to validate selected solution. Conduct pilot run to confirm the performance results of WHY with set targets, new Z value. Study the influence of solution on the other measures, WHYs, and on overall measure, WHY. Evaluate financial gains. Finalize the modified process flow. Step 10. Process control and risk analysis. Develop risk mitigation plan and process control systems. Develop rollout plan and implement solution. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Improve phase. Develop feasibility solutions to improve performance of WHY and implement selected solutions are two key actionables of improve phase. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Introduction to control phase. Control phase of Six Sigma DMAIC process consists of following activities. Step 11. Execute control plan and finalize documentation. Monitor post-implementation process performance to ensure expected improvement in project WHY has occurred. Ensure ongoing process monitoring system is in place. Step 12. Communicate to business results and sign off to close the Six Sigma project. Six Sigma DMAIC process, a real-world example. Six Sigma DMAIC process, define phase, capturing voice of customer, VOC. What is voice of customer? Voice of customer is the customer's voice, expectations, preferences, comments, of a product or service in discussion. It is the statement made by the customer on a particular product or service. Customer identification. Customer is the one who buys or uses your product's services, and he/she is the one who receives the process output. We broadly classify customers into two categories: internal customers. Internal customers are the ones who are internal to the organization. They are management, employees, or any functional department in your organization. External customers. External customers are not a part of the organization. They are either the ones who use our product, or service, or have vested interest in the organization. For example, clients, end customers, shareholders, among others. Customer needs and requirements. Need is a desire or an expectation of a customer from a given product or service. Customers may have many stated needs which are often vague and generally wants from a product service. For example, customer requires an air conditioner for its use in his/her bedroom. The real need of the customer is cool temperature in the bedroom. Similarly, the real want from the air conditioner is it has to be quiet, cost-effective and maintenance-free. When the customer states his/her requirements, we will often get to hear that the need is cool temperature, less noise, quiet, cost-effective and free of maintenance. However, cool temperature is the need and the rest are just wants. It is important for the project team to understand the stated needs of the customer and separate them from wants. The main reason that we separate needs and wants are, needs are important critical features and wants are expectations of the product or service over and beyond the needs. If the product service is not able to fulfill wants of the customer may only be highly dissatisfied. However, if the product service is not able to fulfill needs of the customer, he/she will not use the product service and there is a high likelihood that he/she will switch to competitors' product service. Organization's reputation may also be at stake if needs are not met. Requirement is an attribute of the product or service which fulfills the needs of a customer. Customer defines these requirements and are the musts of a product or service. For example, in the above example of an air conditioner, customer's requirement is cool temperature and the rest are good to have features. Customer will not buy the air conditioner if all of good to have features are present but the requirement, are not fulfilled. However, customer may buy the product service if the requirement is fulfilled and good to have features are present or not present. Translating voices to needs, voice of customer, VOC. Methodology can be used to capture the customer needs, both current, stated needs, and latent, unstated needs. VOC methodology helps capture the needs of customer through stated verbatim comments, customer voices. It helps translate verbatim comments, customer voices, into customer needs to product service output characteristics customer requirements. Distinct categories of VOC. At an organization level we broadly classify VOC into four distinct categories: AGP, voice of associate, the feedback that we get from our employees, voice of investor, the feedback that we get from our management and shareholders, voice of customer, the feedback that we get from our clients and end customers, voice of process, the feedback that we get from measuring our CTPs, critical to process, and CTQs, critical to quality. Six Sigma, voice of AGP, associate, customer, investor and process, voice of customer, VOC. Methods, surveys. Surveys are a designed set of questionnaire which is sent out to potential or existing customers. Surveys are cost-effective, however, have very low response rate. Interviews are individual meetings with potential or existing customers where a set of questions are asked and answers are discussed to understand customer voices. Interviews can tackle complex issues, however, requires trained resources. Focus group. A group of people are called together in one conference room and a discussion is held on specific topics that need to be addressed. These focus groups are excellent for identifying the CTQ, critical to quality, however, are difficult to generalize. Suggestions. Client customer employee feedback is received and treated as suggestion to improve product or service. Suggestions provide good improvement opportunities, however, does not look at overall process. Observations. During the course of the process, individuals can have observations and can provide feedback to the process which does act as a voice of customer. Below is a sample of voice of customer that is translated into a requirement. Six Sigma, translating voice of customer into requirements. Six Sigma DMAIC process, define phase, Kano analysis. Kano analysis is about prioritizing customer requirements once they are established. Requirements are prioritized as basic requirements, performance requirements, delighter requirements, indifferent requirements, reverse requirements. Six Sigma, Kano analysis. Let's look at each of these requirements in detail. Basic requirements. Basic requirements are must-bes. They are the most important needs of customers. They are required and expected to be there. These are the needs the customer assumes will be met. When these requirements are unfulfilled, the customer is greatly dissatisfied, and when fulfilled, the customer is neutral, that is, they do not produce additional satisfaction. Performance requirements. A direct positive correlation exists between satisfaction levels and the degree of presence of these performance requirements. The more performance requirement elements needs are met, the better it is for the product or service. Indifferent requirements. Indifferent elements are needs that result in neither satisfaction nor dissatisfaction whether they are present, met or not. Reverse requirements. Reverse elements are needs that result in 1. Dissatisfaction when they are fulfilled and satisfaction even when they are not fulfilled. They may indicate that the perception of that question in the marketplace is the opposite of the perception of the survey's creator. Delighter requirements. Delighter requirements are attractors. Their presence in a product process is unexpected and fulfill the latent needs of a customer. They led to great satisfaction if found present. When delighters are absent, the customer still is neutral, and not dissatisfied. Below is an example of a Kano analysis for a software application. Six Sigma, Kano analysis example for a software application. Six Sigma DMAIC process, define phase, CTQ drill down tree. CTQ, critical to quality. Drill down tree is a tool that can be used to effectively convert customers' needs and requirements to measurable product service characteristics, to establish linkage between project Y and business Y, and to bound the project or to make the project manageable. Below is an example of CTQ drill down tree and their associated measurements for two different processes. Six Sigma, CTQ, critical to quality, drill down tree for data entry application. Six Sigma, CTQ, critical to quality, drill down tree for pizza delivery process. Six Sigma DMAIC process, define phase. Six Sigma project charter. Project charter is a document that provides a framework and objective for a Six Sigma process improvement and or problem-solving project. Six Sigma project charter. Business case. Business case helps to understand how the project is linked with the overall business objectives. Business case explains why there is a need for the organization to undertake the project and how it will support organizational objectives. The business case should be able to answer the following questions. Why is the project worth doing? Justify the resources necessary to engage in the project. Why is it important to customers? Why is it important to the business? Why is it important to employees? Why is it important to do it now? What are the consequences of not doing the project now? How does it fit with the operational initiatives and targets? Business case example: by reducing the average transaction length, the queue would be able to enhance the speed of resolution and assist the end users in fastest possible manner. This will not only help in achieving client targets but also increase end user satisfaction score by offering lesser turnaround time. Problem statement. Problem statement should quantitatively describe the pain in the current process. What is the pain? Where is it hurting? When is it current? How long it has been? What is the extent of the pain? What a problem statement should not do is assign a cause or blame and include a solution. Problem statement example: in the last 3 months, when 12% of our customers are late by over 45 days in paying their bills, what? This represents 20%. Magnitude of our outstanding receivables and negatively affects our operating cash flow. Consequence. Goal statement defines the improvement the team is seeking to accomplish. It starts with a verb. It should not presume a cause or include a solution. It has a deadline. It is actionable and sets the focus. It should be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and time-bound. Goal statement example: to reduce the percentage of late payments to 15% in next 3 months, and give tangible savings of $500K USD year. Project scope. Project scope helps us to understand the start and end point for the process and also gives an insight on project constraints and dimensions. It's an attempt to define what will be covered in the project deliverables. Scoping sharpens the focus of the project team and sets the expectations right. There are two types of scoping: longitudinal scoping, lateral scoping. Absence of proper scoping may result in the team losing interest in the project. Project becomes difficult to implement. Even after implementation, the desired benefits are not seen. Team focuses on trivial pain areas, and missing out the real ones. Process selected is too broad to handle. Longitudinal scoping. Longitudinal scoping is done on the length of the process, for example, from the receipt of PO till the delivery at the distributors go down, for example, from the time of customer reporting the complaint till final satisfaction confirmation. Mostly the start and end points are fixed. A macro-as-is process map must be prepared to facilitate longitudinal scoping. Lateral scoping is done on the breadth of the process, for example, all dispatches from north and south regions, for example, calls received during general shifts. By using longitudinal and lateral scoping methods, we know what all kinds of units the process will cover, in what situations the process is valid, what are the qualifiers for the transactions, what functional domains does the process cover, and in what geographical areas the process is valid. Scoping example: longitudinal scope, the time when the sourcing team receives the resume of a referral, or the time when a candidate walks into organization premises for an interview and joins the organization. Lateral scope, candidates interviewed till senior manager level across the organization, all locations. Project milestones. Project milestone in a charter specifies timelines for completion of each phases with signed toll gates. It is a preliminary, high-level project plan with dates, which is tied to phases of DMAIC process. It should be aggressive, don't miss window of opportunity, yet should be realistic, don't force yourselves into band-aid solution. The project milestones to further include a detailed project plan, Gantt chart, along with a documented communication plan. Specification limits. A specification is a customer-defined tolerance for the output unit characteristics. There may be two-sided specifications, upper specification limit, USL, and lower specification limit, LSL. Any data point above the USL and below LSL is termed as defect. Specifications form the basis of any defect measurement exercise on continuous data. Six Sigma process specification limits. Specification limit should follow the RUMBA acronym. RUMBA stands for reasonable, understandable, measurable, believable and attainable. Reasonable, the specification based on a realistic assessment of customers' actual needs. We need to check if the specification relate directly to the performance of the characteristic. Understandable, the specification is clearly stated and defined so that no one can misinterpret it. Measurable, we should be able to measure the characteristics' performance against the specification. If not, a lot of debate will ensue between you and your customer as to whether the specification has been met. Believable, we should have bought into the specification setting. That is, we and our team should strive to meet the specification. Attainable or achievable, we should be able to reach the level and range of the specification. Resources and team roles. Ultimately, executive leadership team together with Six Sigma deployment leader and Six Sigma champion need to ensure that a trained Six Sigma team and associated hardware and software resources are in place to successfully implement the Six Sigma project and deliver great results and customer value. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Define phase, change acceleration process, CAP. Change acceleration process, CAP, is the process of moving the current state of the process service product to an improved state by catalyzing, speeding up, the transition state. Six Sigma change acceleration process, CAP. CAP depends on leading change, creating a shared need, shaping a vision, mobilizing commitment, getting buy-in from stakeholders, making the change last and monitoring progress. All implementation projects require a champion who sponsors the change if they are to be successful. Leading change. The reason to change, whether driven by threat or opportunity, is instilled within the organization and widely shared through data, demonstration, demand, or diagnosis. The need for change must exceed the resistance to change, creating a shared need. The desired outcome of change is clear, legitimate, widely understood, and shared, shaping a vision. There is a strong commitment from key constituents to invest in the change, make it work, and demand and receive management attention, mobilizing commitment. Once change is started, it endures and flourishes and learnings are transferred throughout the organization, making the change last. Progress is real, benchmarks are set and realized, indicators are established to guarantee accountability, monitoring progress. Management practices are used to complement and reinforce change, changing systems and structures. ARMY, approver, resource, member, interested party. ARMY model is a CAP tool used to assess each person's role in the project during various phases of the project. ARMY is an acronym of A, approval of team decisions, A, resource of the team, one whose expertise skills may be needed, M, member of team, with the authorities and boundaries of the charter, I, interested party, one who will need to keep informed on direction and findings. ARMY helps in defining the role of each individual within the project team. It helps in clarifying any ambiguity related to the roles and responsibilities of these individuals. Let's look at an example of ARMY. Six Sigma ARMY, approver, resource, member, interested party. Example. Project acceptability. Project acceptability is based on the below equation: effectiveness of a solution equals quality of a solution, acceptability of the solution. Six Sigma effectiveness equation. The above equation states that in order to achieve 100% effectiveness, our quality and acceptability of the solution contribute to the tune of 20% and 80% respectively. Improvements bring about change, and it is a commonly known fact that change is always resisted. It is important for all of us to realize that just finding a solution to the problem is not good enough. The identified solution should be understood and implemented. It is important to create a shared need as early as possible in your project journey, as it helps in. Then, it is important to continue building the momentum for the change initiative. Finally, it's important to prepare your people organization for the change by answering the most critical human need: WIIFM, what's in it for me? The key benefits of project acceptability is that it enables projects to be started and completed more quickly. It helps ensure that project solutions are supported. It helps ensure that customers and suppliers are getting involved appropriately. Team involvement ensures change sustenance. It reinforces change that is consistent, visible and tangible. It ensures a baked-in change, not just something on the surface that will be the first thing to be dropped in a pinch. And it helps drive change on a global strategic basis. 3 commonly used CAP tools to help create a shared need are: critical success factors, stakeholder analysis. Critical success factors. These are factors that are critical for the success of the project and needs to be considered and tracked. Some of these factors are appropriate metric, data availability, resource availability, proximity to champion stakeholders, degree of difficulty, scalability, benefits. All of the critical success factors need to be articulated well to ensure stakeholder buy-in. Stakeholder analysis. This tool helps the team answer questions like: who are the key stakeholders? Where do they currently stand on the issues associated with this change initiative? Where do we need them to be in terms of their level of support? Six Sigma stakeholder analysis. Example. Six Sigma DMAIC process, define phase, process mapping. SIPOC. SIPOC is an acronym of suppliers, inputs, processes, outputs and customer. SIPOC as a tool displays a cross-functional set of activities in a single and simple diagram, which helps us identify process inputs, X's, and outputs, Y's, identify process owner, customers and suppliers, and identify and establish boundaries for the process. The 5 key elements of SIPOC are: supplier, whoever provides the input to your process input, the product or data that a process does something to or with to deliver the required output. Process, the activities you must perform to satisfy your customer's requirements and deliver the output. Output, the product or data that results from the successful operation of the process. Customer, whoever receives the output of your process. Six Sigma SIPOC. Supplier, input, process, output and customer. Example. Six Sigma DMAIC process, define phase, process mapping. Flow charting. Process mapping is the graphic display of steps, events and operations that constitute a process. It's a pictorial illustration which identifies the steps, inputs and outputs, and other related details of a process by providing a step-by-step picture of the process as is. It's a graphics technique for dissecting a process by capturing and integrating the combined knowledge of all persons associated with the process. It's as a team effort and is documented by everyone who contributes to the process and or is a part of the process. Process maps help characterize the functional relationships between various inputs and outputs. 3 commonly used process mapping tools to create detailed process maps are: process flowchart, deployment flowchart, alternate path flowchart, process flowchart. Process flowchart is a simple step-by-step process of activities carried out in the process. Six Sigma process flowchart, deployment flowchart. A deployment flowchart is also referred to as swim lane flowchart or cross-functional flowchart, describing the roles of different department stakeholders involved in the process. Six Sigma deployment flowchart, alternate path flowchart. Alternate path flowchart is a step-by-step flowchart which provides alternate paths for most of its steps. This is unlike the swim lane, deployment, or regular flowcharts. Six Sigma alternate path flowchart. Six Sigma DMAIC process, measure phase, identify possible project-wise, measurement types to identify possible project-wise, effective measures. Effective measures is how well a process meets the requirements. For example, did I give the correct answer to an incoming call? Efficiency measures. Efficiency measures is how well resources are allocated to execute the process. For example, cost per transaction. Consideration during evaluating measurements for WISE. Measures always have the customer perspective and are linked to the business goal. Measurement system is understood in terms of its accuracy, repeatability, reproducibility. Benefits of capturing the measure outweigh the cost. Measure is relevant to the process. It has the process been mapped, identifying the key measurable outputs and inputs per step, and the measure is not ambiguous. Six Sigma DMAIC process, measure phase, types of data. There are two types of data, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative data is subjective in nature and cannot be measured objectively. It can be ranked or ordered. Quantitative data is objective in nature and can be measured. Qualitative data is further bifurcated as nominal, ordinal and binary, whereas quantitative data is either discrete or continuous. Examples are described in the below diagram. Six Sigma, data types. Six Sigma DMAIC process, measure phase, variation, discrete versus continuous thinking. Discrete thinking, for instance, payment posted on time, yes no, is the payment amount correct, yes no. Continuous thinking, for instance, when was payment posted, number of hours, how much payment was applied, value of transaction. Some example of discrete and continuous data are as follows: response time for an email, continuous customer satisfaction score. Discrete, as it falls on an ordered scale. Talk time, continuous fatal accuracy, continuous survey rating. Discrete number of calls, discrete number of agents. Discrete characteristics of data. Quantitative data can be measured using central tendency and spread variation. Quantitative data characteristics. Six Sigma DMAIC process, measure phase, data collection strategy, sampling. Sampling is the process of selecting a small number of elements from a larger defined target group of elements. Population is the total group of elements we want to study. Sample is the subgroup of the population we actually study. Sample would mean a group of n employees chosen randomly from organization of population n. Sampling is done in situations like, we sample when the process involves destructive testing, for example taste tests, car crash tests, etc. We sample when there are constraints of time and costs. We sample when the populations cannot be easily captured. Sampling is not done in situations like, we cannot sample when the events and products are unique and cannot be replicable. Sampling can be done by following methods: probability sampling, simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, non-probability sampling, convenience sampling, judgment sampling, quota sampling, snowball sampling. Simple random sampling. Simple random sampling is a method of sampling in which every unit has equal chance of being selected. Six Sigma simple random sampling. Stratified random sampling. Stratified random sampling is a method of sampling in which stratum groups are created and then units are picked randomly. Six Sigma stratified random sampling. Systematic sampling. Systematic sampling is a method of sampling in which every nth unit is selected from the population. Six Sigma systematic sampling. Cluster sampling. Cluster sampling is a method of sampling in which clusters are sampled every tth time. Six Sigma cluster sampling. Non-probability sampling. Convenience sampling relies upon convenience and access. Judgment sampling relies upon belief that participants fit characteristics. Quota sampling emphasizes representation of specific characteristics. Snowball sampling relies upon respondent referrals of others with like characteristics. Sampling bias. Bias occurs when systematic differences are introduced into the sample as a result of the selection process. A sample that is biased will not be representative of the population. A sample that is biased will lead to incorrect conclusions about the population. The types of sampling bias are as follows. Convenience sampling. Selection bias occurs when the sample is drawn only from the part of the population that is easily accessible. Systematic sampling. Selection bias can introduce a bias if the procedure matches an underlying structure. Environmental bias, introduced when environmental conditions have changes from the time the sample was drawn to the time the sample is used to draw conclusions about the population. Non-response bias, initiated by respondents. Only a subset of the population responds to the survey. Sample size formula. In order to determine the sample size, we need to identify if the data type is continuous or discrete, whether we have standard deviation or proportion defectives, and the confidence level. Six Sigma sample size formula. Continuous data. Here, n equals sample size, Greek letter sigma equals is the estimated standard deviation of our population, and Greek letter delta is the precision or the level of uncertainty in your estimate that you are willing to accept, expressed in percent. Six Sigma sample size formula. Discrete data, where p is the proportion defective that we are estimating, expressed in percent, and Greek letter delta is the precision or the level of uncertainty in your estimate that you are willing to accept, expressed in percent. Let us solve a few questions to understand the formula better. Given a sample size of 100, how precisely can we estimate a proportion defective estimated as p equals 20%? Here, p equals 20% and n equals 100, we need to find Greek letter delta. Using the formula for sample size, discrete data, Greek letter delta t equals n, 1.96, 2p, 1p, Greek letter delta t equals 100, 3.8416, 0.16, Greek letter delta t equals 162.681, Greek letter delta equals 12.75. Given an estimated proportion defective guessed to be somewhere in the range of 5% to 15%, how many observations should we take to estimate the proportion defective within 2%? Here, p equals 15%, 5%, equals 10%, equals 0.10, Greek letter delta equals 0.02. Using the formula for sample size, discrete data, n equals 1.96, 0.02, 2, 0.10, 1 nil, 10, n equals 9604, 0.09, n equals 864.36. We want to estimate the average cycle time within 2 days. A preliminary estimate of the population standard deviation is 8 days. How many observations should we take? Here, Greek letter delta equals 2 and Greek letter sigma equals 8 days. Using the formula for sample size continuous data, n equals 1.968/2, 2n equals 61.47. 6 Sigma DMAIC process, measure phase, measurement system. The objective of this section is to identify and understand the components of variation arising out of the measurement system and to be able to use the appropriate tool for analysis depending on the data type. Measurement system analysis, MSA. For data types, for continuous data type the gauge repeatability and reproducibility, R&D studies are done and we check for percent tolerance, percent contribution, number of distinct categories. For discrete data the discrete data analysis, DDA, is done. Accuracy, repeatability, reproducibility. All of the above values are derived out of any statistical software. We will see a few thumb of rules after understanding the measurement system in more detail. 6 Sigma components of variation. The variation in process can result due to the actual process variation and the variation from measurement system. The actual process variation is resulted because of controllable factors and or uncontrollable factors. Variation from measurement system is not advisable. This variation is due to variation from appraiser, due to the operator, individual who operates the tool instrument gate, and variation from gauge that is variation due to the instrument itself. Variation from gauge can be further classified into accuracy, stability, repeatability, reproducibility and linearity. Variation observed equals variation actual plus variation measurement. The above equation indicates that the observed variation in a process is due to actual variation and the variation due to the measurement system. Six Sigma process variation. Six Sigma observed variation versus true variation. In the above example, LSL, lower specification limit, and USL, upper specification limit. Measurement system analysis. Measurement system errors can be due to accuracy, the difference between the average of observed values and the standard repeatability variation in measurement when a person measures the same unit repeatedly with the same measuring gauge or tool. Reproducibility, variation in measurement when two or more persons measure the same unit using the same measuring gauge or tool. Stability, variation in measurement when the same person measures the same unit using the same measuring gauge or tool over an extended period of time. Linearity, the consistency of the measurement across the entire range of the measuring gauge. Acceptable level of measurement system variation. Thumb of rules. Six Sigma gauge R and a thumb rule. Continuous data. Six Sigma attribute R and a thumb rule. Discrete data. Process variation. Process variation is generally due to two causes, common causes and special causes. Common cause is also called as noise. Variation is inherent in the system. It results in a stable, in control, process because the variation is predictable and it is evident in the system, whereas special causes are also called as signals. They are unexpected occurrences due to unforeseen circumstances. It results in an unstable, out of control, process because the variation is not predictable. Data interpretation. Data is interpreted using factors such as stability, normality, shape, spread and centering. Let's take a look at the first factor, stability. Run chart is an important tool for understanding data stability. Run charts are simple time-ordered plots of process data. On run chart plots one can perform tests for certain patterns in the data to understand data stability, and presence of these patterns indicates special causes of variation. Special cause variation in a run chart can be understood by the following patterns: same value plot, clustering or too few runs plot, mixtures or too many runs plot, oscillations plot, trends plot, shifts plot. Run chart, same value plot. A run chart having 7 or more points with same value in a sequence indicates bias in the process. Six Sigma run chart, same value plot. Run chart, clustering plot. Such a plot has lot of data points next to each other on one side of the median and the same way on the side of the median over time and indicates a periodic shift in process average due to lot or setup variability, also known as too few runs plot. Six Sigma run chart, clustering plot. Run chart, mixtures plot. Such a plot has an absence of points near the center line with a sequence of 14 or more points in a row alternating up and down, indicates a bias or systematic sampling from different sources or processes, also known as cycle or too many runs plot. Six Sigma run chart, mixtures plot. Run chart, oscillation plot. Such a plot has data points constantly fluctuating up and down rapidly around the median and indicates that the process is not steady or stable. Six Sigma run chart, oscillation plot. Run chart, trend plot. Such a plot has a sequence of 7 or more data points continuously increasing or decreasing and indicates a gradual increase or decrease trend in the data measurement methods. Six Sigma run chart, trend plot. Run chart, shift plot. Such a plot has a sequence of 8 or more points on the same side of the median and indicates a gradual shift in the process. Six Sigma run chart, shift plot. Introduction to normal distribution. Normal distribution was developed by astronomer Carl Gauss. It is a most prominently used distribution in statistics. Its applicability is to many situations where, given the population knowledge, we need to predict the sample behavior. It comes close to fitting the actual frequency distribution of many phenomena such as human characteristics such as weights, heights and IQs, physical process output such as yields. Six Sigma normal distribution 1. It's a probability distribution, illustrated as n, Greek letter sigma, that is, it is characterized by mean and standard deviation. Simply put, a probability distribution is a theoretical frequency distribution. It has higher frequency of values around the mean and lesser at values away from mean. It is continuous and symmetrical. Its tails are asymptotic to x-axis, that is, the tails will never touch the x-axis. It is bell-shaped and the total area under the normal curve equals 1. For the data that does not follow normal distribution, the data will not be bell-shaped as above. It could be stretched to the left or right, or it can also have multiple peaks, or it may show some other pattern. We term such data as non-normal data. Six Sigma normal distribution 2. As you will observe in the above diagram, a process with one Greek letter sigma, 1 sigma, the performance of the process is at 68.26%. As the sigma value increases, 2 Greek letters sigma, 3 Greek letters sigma, 4 Greek letters sigma, etc., the performance of the process also increases, 95.46%, 99.73%, 99.9937%, etc. When the process achieves 6 Greek letters sigma level, the performance of the process is as high as 99.999998%. Now let us look at how we can determine normality of the dataset. Anderson-Darling normality test is performed on the data to understand its normality characteristics. A data is considered to be normal if the p-value is greater than 0.05, and the hypothesis test states, H0 data is normal, H data is not normal. 6 Sigma histogram distribution symmetrical shape. 6 Sigma histogram distribution positively skewed shape. 6 Sigma histogram distribution negatively skewed shape. 6 Sigma histogram distribution long-tailed shape. 6 Sigma histogram distribution B-modal symmetrical shape. 6 Sigma histogram distribution multimodal negatively skewed shape. What do I do when data is non-normal? When the data is non-normal, we transform the data from non-normal to normal. We can transform the data with the following possibilities. Take the log, any base of your measurement. Raise your individual measurements to a power. Use the reciprocal, 1/y of your individual measurements. When we transform data, we should take following caution. When you transform your data, you must also transform your specification limits. You will use the transformed data throughout the analysis of your data. Use transformation of data the last resort after checking all other alternatives such as more data collection, validating data consistency. 6 Sigma DMAIC process, measure phase, process capability. The capability of a process is defined as the inherent variability of a process in the absence of any undesirable special causes, and the variability is due to common causes. Process capability can be categorized under 2 categories. Short-term capability, potential performance of a process, under control at a point in time, calculated from data taken over a short period of time such that there is no external influence on the process, that is temperature change, shift change, operator change, etc. Short-term capability represents the true process capability. Short-term capability indicates the technology of the process. Long-term capability, the actual performance of a process over a period of time, calculated from data taken over a period of time long enough such that external factors can influence the process. Long-term capability represents both the technological capability combined with the controls that you exercise. What is process sigma? It is a measurement yardstick to evaluate the output of a process against the set performance standard. Higher the process sigma, better the process capability. Sigma measure gives us a common platform to compare different process that is otherwise being measured differently. Process sigma calculation discrete data. What is our unit? An item being processed. What is a defect? Failure to meet a customer requirement or a performance standard. What is an opportunity? Any product service characteristics which is measured to a standard. What is defective? A unit that has S defects per million opportunity, number of defects that would arise given a million opportunity. DPMO calculation, defects per opportunity. DPO equals D, OU, D equals total no of defects, O equals opportunity for defects per unit, U equals total no of units. DPMO, defects per million opportunity, DPMO equals 1 million, DPO equals 1 million D, OU. For any 6 Sigma process, the calculation will always result the process to have only 3.4 per million opportunities DPMO. For example, if a process had only 2 defects, 18 opportunity for defects per unit and total number of units to be 32,500, the DPMO calculation will be as follows. DPO equals 2, 18 32,500 equals 0.0000034188. DPMO equals DPO 1 million equals 3.4. Yield. Different types of fulfillment can impact the quality level we measure in our processes. Yield can be understood as classical yield, first pass yield and roll throughput yield. 6 Sigma yield definition and example. Classic yield, YC, units passed final units tested equals 65/70 equals 0.93 first time yield. If units passed units input for first time equals 65/100 equals 0.65 rolled throughput yield. YTP, yield 1, yield 2, yield 3, yield 4 equals 91/100, 82/91, 70/82, 65/70 equals 0.65. Process sigma calculation continuous data. Check if the data is normally distributed. The larger the sample size, the higher the probability of having normal data. In normality plot, the y-axis represents the cumulative percentage if the data points that fall below the corresponding data value, and the x-axis. Six Sigma normal probability plot. Calculation of z value. Z is the unit of measure that is equivalent to the number of standard deviation of values away from the mean value. Calculation of 6 sigma z value. Y equals value of the data point we are concerned with equals mean of the data points. Greek letter sigma equals standard deviation of the data points. Z equals number of standard deviations between y and the mean. Let's look at some examples. It's found that runs scored by England cricket team while setting a score in one-day internationals follow a normal distribution with mean of 250 and standard deviation of 23. What is the probability that team will score more than 300 runs in its next match? Normal distribution example. Z calculation example. Looking up appendix below for normal distribution table, we find that Z value of 2.17 covers an area of 0.98499 under itself. Thus, the probability that the team may score between 0 and 300 is 98.5%, and thus, chance of team scoring more than 300 runs is 1.5%. For the same data, what is the probability that team will score between 216 and 273? Normal distribution example. Z calculation example. From appendix, total area covered by Z1 equals 0.841344740. Total area covered by Z2 equals 0.929219087 equals 0.0707. Intercepted area between Z1 and Z2 equals 0.7705. Thus, probability that the team may score between 216 and 273 runs in the next match is 77.05%. 6 Sigma normal distribution table 1. 6 Sigma normal distribution table 2. 6 Sigma DMAIC process, analyze phase, as is process map. As is process map. Process mapping is a graphical representation of all the activities carried out to deliver output for a process. It tells us all the activities being carried out to obtain the output. It also discusses on what all the inputs going to deliver the output. It suggests which inputs are controllable and which are not in our control. It gives a list of critical inputs. It shares which of these activities are value-added and which are non-value-added, the various handoffs and the opportunities to eliminate steps. It helps to determine the bottlenecks. It provides data collection points existing against those required. It also helps in identifying the efficiency of the process, as we capture the processing time for each activity. Example of mapping the as-is processes to the micro level. 6 Sigma as-is process mapping. 6 Sigma DMAIC process, analyze phase, data door analysis. Let us learn about a few representation tools that help us in analyzing the data and also representing them appropriately. Process variation can be classified as variation for a period of time and variation over time. Variation for a period of time can be defined for discrete and continuous data types as below. Discrete data, bar diagram, pie chart, Pareto chart. Continuous data, histogram, box plot. Variation over time can be defined for discrete and continuous data types as discrete data, run charts, control chart. Continuous data, run chart, control chart. Bar diagram. A bar diagram is a graphical representation of attribute data. It is constructed by placing the attribute values on the horizontal axis of a graph and the counts on the vertical axis. 6 Sigma bar diagram. Pie chart. A pie chart is a graphical representation of attribute data. The pieces represent proportions of count categories in the overall situation. Pie charts show the relationship among quantities by dividing the whole pie, 100%, into wedges or smaller percentages. 6 Sigma pie chart. Cause and effect diagram. Fishbone diagram. Ishikawa diagram. This is a visual tool used to brainstorm the probable causes for a particular effect to occur. effect or the problem is analogously captured as the head of the fish and thus the name. The causes for this effect or problem is generated through team brainstorming and are captured along the bones of the fish. The causes generated in the brainstorming exercises by the team will depend on how closely the team is related to the problem. Typically the causes are captured under predetermined categories such as 6Ms or 5Ms and appears given below. Machine. This category groups root causes related to tools used to execute the process. Material. This category groups root causes related to information and forms needed to execute the process. Nature. This category groups root causes related to our work environment, market conditions, and regulatory issues. Measure. This category groups root causes related to the process measurement. Method. This category groups root causes related to procedures, handoffs, input-output issues. People. This category groups root causes related people and organizations. Below is an example of a fishbone diagram created for capturing the root causes of high turnaround time, TAT. Six Sigma cause and effect diagram. Fishbone diagram. Ishikawa diagram. Pareto chart. A data display tool for numerical data that breaks down discrete observations into separate categories for the purpose of identifying the vital few. Six Sigma Pareto chart. Histogram. A histogram is a graphical representation of numerical data. It is constructed by placing the class intervals on the horizontal axis of a graph and the frequencies on the vertical axis. Six Sigma histogram. Box plot. A box plot summarizes information about the shape, dispersion, center of process data and also helps spot outliers in the data. Six Sigma box plot. The box plot can be interpreted as follows. Box represents the middle 50% values of the process data. Median represents the point for which 50% of the data points are above and 50% are below the line. Q1, Q3. Q1 represents the point for which 25% of the data points are above and 75% are below the line, while Q3 represents the point for which 75% of the data are above and 25% are below in the line. Estrix represents an outlier and is a point which is more than 1.5 times the interquartile range, Q3 Q1, in the data. Lines. These vertical lines represent a whisker which joins Q1 or Q3 with the farthest data point but other than an outlier. Example. Below is an example of a call center process where average handle time, AHT of the calls is compared between team leads of the process. You will observe that the variation is highest for TL1 and for the rest it is much smaller. This indicates that the associates working under TL1 need training or some other help which will reduce the variation and bring the overall AHT under control. Scatter plot. A scatter plot is often employed to identify potential associations between two variables, where one may be considered to be an explanatory variable, such as years of education, and another may be considered a response variable, such as annual income. Six Sigma box plot example. Scatter plots are similar to line graphs in that they use horizontal and vertical axes to plot large body of data points, and they have a very specific purpose too. They show how much one variable is affected by another variable, and this relationship is called as their correlation. The closer the data points come when plotted to making a straight line, higher is the correlation between variables. If the data points make a straight line going from the origin out to high x and y values, then the variables are said to have a plus v correlation. If the line goes from a high value on y-axis down to a high value on x-axis, the variables have v correlation. Once after identifying the factors, we need to what is the extent of impact of the factors, which one do you control? Six Sigma scatter plot. Scatter plots are similar to line graphs in that they use horizontal and vertical axes to plot large body of data points, and they have a very specific purpose too. They show how much one variable is affected by another variable, and this relationship is called as their correlation. The closer the data points come when plotted to making a straight line, higher is the correlation between variables. If the data points make a straight line going from the origin out to high x and y values, then the variables are said to have a plus v correlation. If the line goes from a high value on y-axis down to a high value on x-axis, the variables have v correlation. Once after identifying the factors, we need to what is the extent of impact of the factors, which one do you control? Six Sigma DMAIC process, analyze phase, control impact matrix. This is a prioritization tool that is used in conjunction with the C&D tool, typically after the causes have been captured using C&D. Prioritization is done based on factors, causes, that are in your control and the impact, extent of the factor on the problem or the effect. Six Sigma Control Impact Matrix. We generate the factors causes using the C&D, cause and effect, matrix, followed by verification of this qualitative assessment of the factors causes by seeking data, which can then be prioritized using the control impact matrix or Pareto analysis. But are these the root causes, or do we need to drill down further? How do we do it? Ask why 5 times or ask why till a time when you do not have an answer to the why, or the final answer that you may get could be a root cause. Six Sigma DMAIC process, analyze phase, why analysis. Why analysis is explained through the below example. Why does the home finance loan application process take more than 10 working days to arrive at the decision of creditworthy? Because many applications received especially by post have fields that are either not clear or left blank. Why do we have applications that have blank fields? Because the customer did not fill out the details. Why did the customer not fill the details? Because they were not clear. Why were they not clear? Because the direction was not clear. Why were the direction not clear? Because many of the customers never read them. Why did they not read them? Because the print was too small. Six Sigma DMAIC process, analyze phase, hypothesis testing. In a process, we may face problem with centering and/or problem with spread. Below diagram will allow us to understand these two problems in detail. Hypothesis testing tells us whether there exists statistically significant difference between the data sets for us to consider that they represent different distributions. Practical Six Sigma problems that require hypothesis testing. What is the difference that can be detected using hypothesis testing? For continuous data, hypothesis testing can detect difference in average and difference in variance. For discrete data, hypothesis testing can detect difference in proportion defective. Steps in hypothesis testing. Step 1. Determine appropriate hypothesis test. Step 2. State the null hypothesis H and alternate hypothesis H. Step 3. Calculate test statistics p-value against table value of test statistics. Step 4. Interpret results, accept or reject H. Mechanism, H equals null hypothesis. There is no statistically significant difference between the two groups. H equals alternate hypothesis. There is statistically significant difference between the two groups. Hypothesis testing errors, type I error, p, reject H when H is true, equals Greek letter alpha. In type I error, we reject the null hypothesis when it is true. It is also called as alpha error or produces risk. Type to error, p, accept H when H is false, equals Greek letter beta. Similarly, in type to error, we accept null hypothesis when it is false. It is also called as beta error or consumer's risk. Six Sigma hypothesis testing errors. P-value, also known as probability value, it is a statistical measure which indicates the probability of making an Greek letter alpha error. The value ranges between 0 and 1. We normally work with 5% alpha risk. A p-value lower than 0.05 means that we reject the null hypothesis and accept alternate hypothesis. Types of hypothesis testing. We use the following grid to select the appropriate hypothesis test depending on the data types. Types of Six Sigma hypothesis testing. Normal continuous Y and discrete X. Non-normal continuous Y and discrete X. Continuous Y and continuous X. Discrete Y and discrete X. Six Sigma hypothesis tests, null and alternate summary. Six Sigma DMAIC process, analyze phase, analysis examples. One sample t-test example. Definition: a hypothesis test for comparing a population mean against a given standard for any significant differences. Situation: you have 50 data points on the TAT for your process and you want to check if the mean of your TAT is worse than your competitor's TAT of 4.5 minutes. Null, mean TAT, equals 4.5 minutes. Alternate, mean TAT, 4.5 minutes. Turnaround time, in mins. Analysis result. Result: A1 sample t-test helps us compare the mean of the sample to that of one value. In our example, we wanted to identify if our TAT is better or worse than 4.5. Using the results of the session window described above, we observe that the p-value is less than 0.05, which indicates that we reject the null hypothesis. Thus, our performance is worse than our competitor's performance. Two sample t-test example. Definition: a hypothesis test for comparing means of two different populations for any significant differences. Situation: you have two shifts in your process, morning shift and evening shift, and you want to find out if there is a significant difference in the average in TAT of morning shift and night shifts. Null, mean of morning shift equals evening shift. Alternate, mean of morning shift equals evening shifts. Morning shift and night shift data. Analysis result. A two-sample t-test helps us compare the mean of two samples. In our example, we wanted to identify if morning shift performance is equal to evening shift performance. Using the results of the session window described above, we observe that the p-value is less than 0.05, which indicates that we reject the null hypothesis. Thus, performance of morning shift is not equal to evening shifts. One-way ANOVA example. Definition: a hypothesis test for comparing the means of more than two populations for any significant differences. Situation: you want to see if there is a significant difference in the average TAT of your staff A, B, C, D. Null, mean of staff A equals staff B equals staff C equals staff D. Alternate, mean of staff A equals staff B equals staff C equals staff D. Staff 1, staff 2, staff 3 and staff 4 data. Analysis result. A one-way ANOVA helps us compare the mean of more than two samples. In our example, we wanted to check if the performance of the four staff is same or different. Using the results of the session window described above, we observe that the p-value is less than 0.05, which indicates that we reject the null hypothesis. Thus, performance of staff 1 equals staff 2 equals staff 3 equals staff 4. Moods median test example. Definition: a hypothesis test for comparing the medians of two or more than two populations for any significant differences. Situation: you want to see if there is a significant difference in the TAT of your staff A, B, C, D. Null, median of staff A equals staff B equals staff C equals staff D. Alternate, median of staff A equals staff B equals staff C equals staff D. Staff 1, staff 2, staff 3 and staff 4 data. Analysis result. A Moods median test helps us compare the medians of more than two samples. In our example, we wanted to check if the median performance of the four staff is same or different. Using the results of the session window described above, we observe that the p-value is less than 0.05, which indicates that we reject the null hypothesis. Thus, median performance of staff 1 equals staff 2 equals staff 3 equals staff 4. Chi-square test example. Definition: a hypothesis test for comparing output counts from two or more subgroups for any significant differences. Situation: you want to see if one set of defectives data is significantly different from another set of defectives data. Null, no difference in the two subgroups. Alternate, difference exists in the two subgroups. Data for chi-square tests. Analysis result. A chi-square test helps us compare the count data. In our example, we wanted to check if one set of defectives data is significantly different from another set of defectives data. Using the results of the session window described above, we observe that the p-value is greater than 0.05, which indicates that we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Thus, no difference in the two subgroups. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Improve phase. Solution parameter. To define and come up with solution parameters for statistically validated X's, we need to develop decision statement, develop solution criteria, classify solution criteria, refine solution criteria, develop decision statement. Solution should be generated to clarify the purpose of the decision to be made. Parameters to be considered while drafting a decision statement are: how will you manage expectations of customer? How will you establish boundaries on alternatives to be considered to resolve the problem? How will you reflect on prior decisions taken? Level of decision. The next thing to do is to develop a decision statement and generate a list of 6 to 12 criteria to solve the problem. Consider desired results, restrictions being faced and availability of resources. Classify solution criteria. Once criteria have been listed, we have a clearer statement of the objectives against which to judge the various alternatives. In most situations, criteria vary in their degree of importance. We need to classify these criteria to reflect their relative influence on the solution choice. We divide criteria into two basic categories: absolute requirements or must-mandatory, realistic and measurable requirements which help the project team to screen out unacceptable alternatives. Comparison criteria or wants desirable characteristics which provide a basis for comparison for criteria. Refined solution criteria. We need to refine the wants and must criteria before generating possible solutions. The solution criteria can be refined by clarifying everyone's understanding, Clarify everyone's understanding about each criteria by discussing and restating each criteria. Make use of the Scamper tool to refine or synthesize the solution criteria. Scamper is a checklist of idea-spurring questions and stands for S. Substitute C, combine A, adapt M, modify or magnify P, put to other uses E, eliminate or minify A, reverse or rearrange. Weighing the wants. Weigh the wants to reflect upon the relative importance of each want criteria by using a Likert scale of 1-10. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Improve phase. Generate possible solution. Involve those who will be affected. We need to make sure we solicit the upfront involvement of people affected by the problem or its solution and people with expertise in the subject matter. We should then focus on the root causes, that is, make the affected parties revisit the significant root causes to get to a solution. Then, pick on idea generation technique. 5 key techniques used for idea generation and synthesis are brainwriting, benchmarking, assumption busting, creative brainstorming, modified brainstorming. Idea generation technique. Brainwriting. Brainwriting is a technique used to generate many ideas in a short period of time. 2 key modified brainstorming techniques used are brainwriting 635 and constrained brainwriting. Brainwriting 635. The name brainwriting 635 comes from the process of having 6 people write 3 ideas in 5 minutes on a predefined parameter. Constrained brainwriting. The name constrained brainwriting comes from the fact that on certain occasions the team may want to have a set of constrained ideas around a predetermined focus, rather than ranging freely. Idea generation technique. Benchmarking process. Benchmarking is a technique of continually searching for the best methods, practices and processes, and either adopting or adapting their good features and implementing them to become the best of the best. Idea generation techniques. Assumption busting. Assumption busting as a technique is used to trace back from the current performance problems to identify rules and then surface underlying assumptions. The key steps involved in assumption busting are: revisit the current problem at hand, identify the rule S responsible for the problem, trace the rule S back to an assumption in the process, test to break the assumption. Is it wrong from the start, or can it be made untrue? For example, in a personal loan approval process, the problem is lengthy cycle time for approvals, which is leading to dissatisfaction. Investigation of the process reveals that there is a rule existing in the process which makes every vital task in processing the loan pass through a specialist, legal expert, financial expert, credit expert, after it has been processed by an agent. The reason for rule existing in the process is an assumption which says that all loan deals are complex. On investigation and data collection, it is found that only 5% of deals are complex, and thus the process assumption is wrong. Idea generation technique. Creative brainstorming. Nominal group technique. The nominal group technique is a structured method to narrow down and prioritize on a list of choices. It is called nominal because during the session the group doesn't engage in the usual amount of interaction typical of a team. Because of this relatively low level of interaction, nominal group technique is an effective tool when some group members are new to each other. Relatively low level of interaction is required. Issues are of highly controversial nature and a team is stuck in disagreement. Idea generation technique. Modified brainstorming. Modified brainstorming technique makes some basic and or simple amendments to the regular creative brainstorming in order to help expand the number and quality of ideas. 3 key modified brainstorming techniques used are analogy technique, channeling technique and anti-solution technique. Analogy technique. The ideas generated on the analogy then get translated to the real situation, the problem at hand. Channeling technique. We begin by listing categories of ideas for the issue at hand. Then, as the team brainstorms, over a period of time it can change channels when new ideas slow down. The objective is to capture a broad range of ideas, several channels, as well as of quantity, as many ideas as possible in each channel. Anti-solution technique. We begin by brainstorming around the opposite of the issue at hand. This is probably the easiest of modified brainstorming methods. For example, rather than brainstorming on ways to ensure complete information on a personal loan form, we brainstorm on how to ensure we get knowing complete information on the personal loan form. 6 Sigma DMAIC process. Improve phase. Screen against musts and wants. Once possible solutions are listed, we can begin the process of seeing how they perform against the solution criteria. We base our assessment on the best available information about each alternative. In addition to known facts, This information may take the form of our best projections or the opinion of experts. The criteria serve as a guide for our data gathering. For each criteria we must have complete information about all of the alternatives, so that we can make a reasonable judgment. Six Sigma DMAIC process, improve phase, conduct cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis weighs the real costs of a potential solution under consideration against the potential benefits of the solution. Consider all costs associated with getting the proposed solution up and running. Cost examples would be capital investment needed, implementation costs, time of project team, process improvement costs, etc., startup costs, training, lost production during switch from the old to new process, operation costs, additional cost of running new process compared to old process. The steps involved in doing a cost-benefit analysis for possible solutions are: consider all costs associated with getting solution up and running, quantify benefits of a fully implemented solution, compare the real costs of solution against potential benefits. Does the identified solution have any risk? Risk can be mitigated for the proposed solution by identifying potential problem, if any, with the solution, ensuring that the solution attempts to reduce the opportunity for error if not eliminated. Is it an all-terrain or a featherbed solution? How robust is the solution, and understanding the failure modes and effect analysis. Six Sigma DMAIC process, improve phase, failure mode effect analysis, FMEA. FMEA identifies all the probable failure modes for the product or process. It prioritizes the failure modes for focused attention by using a scoring model based on severity, S, occurrence, O, and detectability, D. RPN equals SOD. Based on the above, suitable action plans can be created to contain the risk. It is used as a living document and could be a good foundation for building robustness. Definition of terms. Failure mode, the way in which a specific process input fails. Effect, the impact the failure has on the critical quality parameter. Cause, the source of variation that caused the process to fail. Current controls, systemized devices in place to prevent or detect the failure's severity. Importance of an effect on critical quality parameter: 1 not severe, 10 very severe. Occurrence, frequency with which a cause occurs: 1 not likely, 10 very likely. Detection, ability of current control to detect the cause before creating a failure mode: 1 likely to detect, 10 not likely to detect. RPN is an acronym for risk priority number. It is calculated by multiplying the severity, occurrence and detectability. Failure mode effect analysis, FMEA, 1. Failure mode effect analysis, FMEA, 2. Six Sigma DMAIC process, improve phase, pilot solution implementation. In general, there is a way to pilot all or some part of every solution that you will want to implement. It is almost always worth the extra effort to pilot. You certainly need to pilot when the scope of the change is large. The change could cause far-reaching unintended consequences. Implementing the change will be a costly process, and the change implemented would be difficult to reverse. The key steps involved in conducting a pilot are strong leadership from top management, select a steering committee pilot team, conduct briefings with the pilot team, pilot planning for issueless execution, sell to employees affected under pilot, employee training for pilot execution, pilot implementation on the shop floor, debriefing after pilot implementation and extend to a second area, if required. Six Sigma DMAIC process, improve phase, validate measurement system. For continuous data we use gauge R and we check for percent tolerance, percent contribution and of distinct categories, and for discrete data we use attribute R and we check for accuracy, repeatability and reproducibility. Six Sigma DMAIC process, improve phase, new process capability mapping. New process capability can be calculated using DPMO method or Z-value method as discussed in the measure phase. New team targets, with the desired results coming from the pilot, the current process baselining needs to be revisited. The new process capability achieved should be made the basis of rebaselining exercise, and we need to set new internal team targets accordingly for the staff. With the desired results coming from the pilot, the new improved process needs to be mapped. While mapping the new process, we should consider the following workflow instructions: establish our product orientation or customer orientation, establish one at a time, processing balance, flow through bottleneck, drive parallel processing, reduce handoffs. Six Sigma DMAIC process, control phase, statistical process control. SPC was developed by Walter Short in 1924. Traditionally, SPC has been used to monitor and control the output parameters of the process. WISE. SPC is used to analyze and control process performance, proactively control processes, distinguish between natural and assignable variation, identify and prevent process from special causes, and involves the use of control charts to determine if a process is operating in control. Six Sigma DMAIC process, control phase. What is a process control? A control mechanism that ensures that the process performance be maintained or at a level that satisfies the customer's need and drive the ongoing improvement of process performance. The key elements that constitute a process control system are documentation of the process, develop process metrics, monitor the process based on the defined metrics. When we talk of a process is operating in control, it translates to a situation that only common cause variation is present, process is predictable and process is stable. Control limit versus specification limit. Control limits, it is defined based on process performance. It helps determine if the process is in control. It is plotted on control charts and it changes when there is a verified, significant change to the process. Specification limits, it is provided by the customer part of SLA. It helps determine if the process is producing defects. It is not plotted on control charts and it changes when requirement comes from the customer. Six Sigma DMAIC process, control phase. What are control charts? Control chart is a graphical tool that helps determine if a process is in control or not. A control chart has 3 zones and is graphically represented as Six Sigma control chart zones, common causes and special causes which result with variations. Characteristics of common causes, present all the time, have a small effect, individually result in random variation, effect can be tolerated. Characteristics of special causes, not always present, come from outside influences, typically have bigger influence than common causes, effect we want to hear about. Six Sigma common causes and special causes. Six Sigma DMAIC process, control phase, SPC, out of control. A process is said to be out of control if 1 or more data points fall outside the control limit, 7 consecutive data points increasing or decreasing, 8 consecutive data points are on one side of average, 14 consecutive data points alternating up and down 2 data points, out of 3 consecutive data points, or on the same side of the average in zone A or beyond 4 data points, out of 5 consecutive data points, or on the same side of the average in zone B or beyond 15 consecutive data points, or within zone C, above and below the average. Six Sigma out of control charts 1. Six Sigma out of control charts 2. Six Sigma DMAIC process, control phase, leading indicator versus lagging indicator. While interpreting control charts, we also talk of 2 indicators. Leading indicator. A leading indicator shows the trend before the defect occurs. For example, you may be able to see a trend of 6 downward points. This is a leading indicator that the process will produce a defect outside the lower control limit. Lagging indicator. A lagging indicator is an outlier that is already outside the upper or lower control limit. This is a lagging indicator that the defect has already occurred in the process. Six Sigma DMAIC process, control phase, control chart selection. Points to keep in mind while selecting a control charts. Continuous data. For continuous data we can measure the average and the variation, thus X bar and A, range, or X bar and S, standard deviation, can be used. Attribute data. For attribute data we first have to determine what are we measuring, defects or defectives. In case we are capturing defective data, then determine if we are sampling for subgroup of equal sample size or not. In case if we are capturing data for defects, then determine if the opportunity for the defects are the same for each subgroup or not. Based on the above we need to select the appropriate chart. Six Sigma control chart selection guidelines. Six Sigma control chart selection continuous Y. Six Sigma control chart selection, discrete Y. Six Sigma DMAIC process, control phase, risk assessment and mistake proofing, poker yoke. Risk needs to be assessed on the should-be process to make the implemented solution more robust. Risk assessment of the new improved process makes sure that any potential effects of the possible failure modes do not result in loss of holding of gains over a period of time. 2 key techniques to assess risk and make sure that no possible failures occur post-control phase are failure modes and effects analysis, mistake proofing, or poke yoke. Mistake proofing, poke yoke, mistake proofing or poke yoke. derived from two Japanese words poker, inadvertent errors, and yokaru, to avoid, helps delink the Y's from the X's. Mistake proofing eliminates the potential for a problem to happen. The key mistake proofing techniques are shut down or stop a process immediately on occurrence of a failure, control, eliminate the occurrence of failure in a process, warning, proactively notify the occurrence of failure in a process before it occurs. The three methods for prediction and detection approach are contact method. Contact with the part in the process highlights the errors. Fixed value method. Errors are detected in the process through counting motion. Step method. Errors are detected by a motion or lack of it in the process. Six Sigma DMAIC process. Control phase. Control and implementation plans. The four techniques used for process control plans are standardization, documentation, monitoring plan, response plan. Standardization. Standardization of the should-be process steps is required to ensure all responsible for execution have the same understanding. Standardizing the should-be process helps to answer queries like, what are the steps in the process? Who does these steps in the process and when? Where more detailed work instructions can be found. Documentation. Documentation is a necessary step to ensure that the learning gained via improvement is institutionalized and shared across the team by having it documented with proper work procedures. Often the live processes have a tendency to evolve in an ad hoc manner. How to accomplish each process activity is usually left up to the individuals, and thus, much of the organizational knowledge resides only in the minds of all those responsible for execution. Procedure. A procedure is the documented sequence of steps and other instructions necessary to carry out an activity for a process. Monitoring plan. Monitoring. It helps detect changes as and when they occur in the process and assure that improvements continue to hold for us to be able to meet customer requirements over a period of time. While observing a process, a monitoring plan helps define key process and output measures for ongoing measurement of the improved process when data is to be collected, and at how often. Define the method for gathering, recording, and reporting data on the measures. Response plan. Response plan helps identify the next steps on what needs to be done if one detects a change in the process while monitoring. For each of the measure in the monitoring plan, the response plan helps define what actions will be taken for an out-of-control event occurrence with the time frame for the action, who takes action based on the monitoring data, where to find trouble, shooting procedures to fix problem. The key elements of a full-scale implementation plan are clear objectives, pilot learnings, incorporated implementation milestones, resource needs, influence, strategy, implementation budget, process control plan, process documentation. Six Sigma DMAIC process, control phase, review and sign off. The project gets closed when defect reduction is demonstrated over a significant period of time. Black belt and master black belt agrees on time period needed to collect and analyze data. If improvement is not confirmed, project will be reopened. The problem is turned off with confirmation run, and turned on when old process is used again. The idea of on-off is key. We don't want shift and drift caused by other variables to lead to a wrong decision. Project financial scorecard signed by Six Sigma champion, black belt, deployment leader, finance manager, process manager, and functional head. The leadership team agrees with the stated benefits. Next steps for the pursuit of growth. The life you want, the marriage you want, the family that you want, is going to be fueled by the business you build. Russell Brunson, author and CEO of ClickFunnels. How to guarantee your position as a successful entrepreneur. I feel that it's now my job to inspire you to actually implement and execute what you have learned from this program. Let's face it, the big, vast economy is not going to accommodate you with more opportunities and more business without you taking some serious initial steps. The economy most likely doesn't even know you exist. Up until now, you only operated as a small part of it, or you're just getting started. The government is not going to bail you out on your difficult days, and they certainly are not going to help you to advance and conquer on your entrepreneurship journey while you are setting yourself free. Something tells me that you didn't pick up this program because you are comfortable or satisfied with where you're in your career and business. Chances are you want to change or improve your career, build a side hustle, increase your level of flexibility and independence, or you want to simply have much security and more available options in life and business. Otherwise, you wouldn't have finished this program. Taking the time to pick up this program and study it suggests that you truly do want to do something different. For this, I acknowledge and congratulate you. Well done to you on getting this program. I applaud you for starting it and even more for finishing it. Now, if you want the world to give you a standing ovation, put lessons in it to work. Interestingly, one of the most effective ways of perfecting these disciplines is to help others attain success and implement these actions themselves. When people with common goals and motivations come together, they tend to learn faster and become a support system for one another. So gather a group of like-minded and highly driven people who refuse to live by the norms of the mediocre. Assemble a group to discuss this program and brainstorm it with you. Ask your family, friends, and other like-minded entrepreneurs to make this program as a team. Then help one another apply and commit to using the actions, hold one another accountable to these commitments. This is the game, and it's the most fun game that I've ever played. You now started getting the skills you need to start building your empire or make it bigger. During this journey that we've been on together through this program, we've covered a lot of things, but there are still a lot I am going to provide you. Everything you've learned in this program is literally the same thing we would discuss and do with you if one of my SkillFront advisors or I had a chance to fly to you and sit in your office. You now have access to the skills that will unlock the path of success in your business and ultimately in your life. You have just learned what took me a decade to discover and master. Tony Robbins often talks about how reading a book is like taking a decade of someone's life and compressing it down to a day. My entrepreneurial journey hasn't been all sunshine and roses. There have been many ups and downs, and I fought hard to learn all these skills in this program you have in your hands, and all other programs we have released, and we're going to release. It is my honor and privilege to be able to share them with you. I still remember the excitement as I learned each of these skills and used them for the business for the first time. Whenever I meet someone talking about our programs and skills they are learning from SkillFront, I get slightly jealous about how much fun it would be to rediscover all these skills. At this moment, you just officially became our latest SkillFront entrepreneur. I hope that you had as much fun learning as I did when I started my own journey. We will end this program now, and we will be happy to serve you again with another program. If you want to get up-to-the-minute ideas, keep yourself informed about other SkillFront programs like this one, follow our pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. P.S. Don't forget, you're just one skill away. Thanks for learning with the SkillFront. I want to thank you for taking the time with our program. We hope you enjoyed studying this lecture as much as we had enjoyed while we were creating it. It would be our greatest pleasure if we managed to help you to learn a thing or two, which will guide you on your own exciting entrepreneurship journey. This program is a playbook. Don't just study it once and go on with business as usual. Keep it handy and refer to it often. Having these tactics and using them hand in hand will give you strategies to grow your business and career geometrically. And with that, thank you so much once again, and I wish you all the success you can dream of. Yelizobagafel, SkillFront, what's coming next? If you want to get up-to-the-minute ideas, keep yourself informed about SkillFront programs like this one, follow our pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. SkillFront, our web address, www.skillfront.com.